A major winter storm has set to pound the Front Range and foothills from Colorado to Wyoming into the plains of Nebraska. Here in the Denver metro area, we could see over a foot of snow, potentially close to 20 inches. The foothills even more. And then we throw in the wind. We've got blizzard warnings up too for parts of Wyoming and Nebraska. Travel will be difficult, if not next to impossible, tonight into Sunday. Good afternoon. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel here in beautiful downtown Golden, Colorado. Temperatures running in the mid-30s, so it's above freezing. And right now we have some very light wet snow mixed with rain. But this is all going to change through the late afternoon hours and certainly tonight and tomorrow as we start to get increased lift. We have the winds coming in from the southeast, and that's going to cause upslope flow. And that means the foothills are going to get pounded with heavy snowfall. It's already snowing up there. It's also colder up there. Even up in Casper right now, it's 31 degrees. Fort Collins, you're looking at the tower cam there in the city, and it's wet there just like here. There are no issues on the interstates in the Front Range, but as you head up 70 towards the ski resorts where thousands have headed for the weekend knowing this storm was coming, things get much dicier with elevation as to be expected. Let's go back to Felicia Collins, who's in Atlanta, to kind of take a look at the situation. Felicia, and I don't know if everybody knows that March is the snowiest month typically in the Front Range, and if you combine March and April snowfall totals on average, that's about a third of their seasonal snowfall, so it's not unusual to get big storms here in March in Denver.
It's certainly not at all, but this one could be a bit of a blockbuster. Thanks so much, Mike. And that's on the cold side. We're going to get back to Mike in just a second. But first, let's talk about scary moments on the warm side. This is in Shallow Water, Texas yesterday when a tornado tore through the area. You can see tons of debris swirling around. You can also see rotation in the clouds. There were reports of 2-inch hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. And heavy snow coating roads is to blame for several crashes in Beaver, Utah yesterday. Semis jackknifed, others were tipped over. The crashes forced the closure of northbound lanes on Interstate 15, backing up traffic. 6.5 inches of snow has fallen there in just the past 24 hours. And it's a classic spring battle of winter and severe. Winter storm Xylia putting about 7 million under winter alerts right now, including those of you in Denver. We could see 2 to 3 feet of snow stack up near the Front Range mountains and foothills. To the south, a dangerous severe storm threat is taking shape, packing the potential for large hail, damaging winds and tornadoes. We have a Torcon of 7 in place in the Texas Panhandle. And you know, it is going to continue ramping up as we head throughout the day today. We've got dangerous situations on both sides of this, whether you are in the winter weather, you just need to stay home and don't be out and about, or you're in the severe weather. So let's break it down. You can see in the bright pink here, we have a blizzard warning that will be going into effect mainly later tonight across portions of southeast Wyoming and western portions of Nebraska there. Of course, we've got the winter storm warnings up and down that I-25 corridor as well. So the snow is going to start to fill in. You'll notice we've got the plume of moisture lifting north now. Pueblo, you've been in it for a little while. Denver, it's going to begin to pick up for you as we head through the next, say, hour or so. This is what we're looking at from Colorado Springs down through Trinidad. 25 corridor is going to be messy in some places. Really, this is just the beginning of what is going to be a system that sticks around for quite some time. Denver, you guys are going to start to see this transitioning eventually. Cheyenne, you've got a little pocket of snow, but it's going to hold off a little bit longer until you really start to see that snow falling quite a bit. And this is what it looks like as you look at the area as a whole. You can still see that characteristic spin of that low pressure system that is not moving off very quickly. So, Mike, you know, when you have a cutoff low like this, the problem with it is it doesn't move on very quickly, and that's going to be part of the problem this weekend. These conditions are just sticking around for so long once they start.
They are. It's going to be a long weekend of snow, heavy wet snow, and then you throw in the wind, and then you have to be concerned with power outages. Now, one thing going for us right now in mid-March here in the Front Range, as you can see in Golden, no foliage on the trees, so that helps. But the wet snow will stick on the limbs. And right now, if you're doing any traveling, 25, 70, anywhere in the Front Range, and avoid the foothills and the mountains, this is what you have. And this is what you're primarily going to have for at least the next few hours, because temperatures are running 34 to 36 degrees. It's a light rain snow mix. We've been reporting, the airports have been reporting drizzle all morning, so it hasn't been a travel issue. But it will become a big travel headache once the sun goes down. We've got the high March sun angle, and the temperatures above freezing. The sun goes goes down, we lose the sun, the energy coming through the clouds, and we also get temperatures, at least in Denver, down to 30. It'll be a little colder north and west, certainly up in the foothills and at the ski resorts. The Denver mayor checked in yesterday with us and had some suggestions on how to spend your snowy weekend here in the Mile High City.
Get your Netflix ready, get your Apple TV ready, and whatever else you use.
Okay, good idea. Get the movies ready. Make sure you have plenty of food on hand, because tomorrow's going to be a really tough travel day, by far, a really tough travel day. Let's time it out for you now. Again, you can see what we've got here. It's bright, it's above freezing, light precipitation. That's all going to change through the late afternoon hours tonight to Sunday as the storm really cranks up. The wind, you'll start to really feel that wind as we get into Sunday and Sunday night. So there will be tendency for some blowing and drifting, especially up in the foothills mountains and up towards, say, Cheyenne, where temperatures are going to be staying below freezing all day Sunday. Here in Denver, we expect a high of 34. Again, with the sun angle, that should help us out on these roads. I'm not saying they're going to be great, but certainly by mid to late afternoon tomorrow, they should be in a little bit better shape than they will be tonight and tomorrow morning. Tonight and tomorrow morning, best bet is just to sit tight and stay home. And then the snow will end by tomorrow night. But Carl, we're looking for upwards of 15 to 20 inches in Denver. I was here back in 03 for the, I call it the shock and awe storm. That was the couple of nights we started the bombing Baghdad, and we had 30 to 40 inches of snow. I was in Golden. I think we had 48 inches of snow, heavy wet snow, and so it's not unusual to get big storms here in the springtime or late winter springtime here in the Front Range.
Mike, I know you like to look at stats, so where do you think this one is going to end up landing in terms of the books?
As far as totals, I think the highest totals are going to be in the foothills. When you get up above 7,000 feet, you've got more upslope. Lower totals, again, west of the divide, because you're on a downsloping side. I think as you go up towards Casper, that's going to be a hot spot because of the wind and the temperature is staying below freezing into Monday, if not Tuesday. You've got two major interstates there, 25 and 70. You've got 70 and 25 here. So again, we're looking at significant major travel on major interstates. And as I said, thousands were heading up to the ski resorts yesterday to get ahead of the snow and to enjoy what is going to be some incredible snowfall. In fact, we talked to a general manager of a ski resort that was Echo Mountain Ski Resort, Echo Lake's in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. Echo Mountain Ski Resort. And he said, based on what he was seeing, that his ski resort could be the snowiest ski resort on the planet this weekend, which is certainly not out of the question.
Yeah, that is the silver lining right there, Mike. Thank you so much. And let's take a look at some of the forecast maps here. There you see what is likely to be a historic storm, 2 to 3 feet of snow, parts of Wyoming as well as northern Colorado. The key to all this is the fact that the low is cut off from the main flow, the jet stream well off to the north there. So it's going to just drift along for a couple of days. There you see the colder air kind of bleeding down across the northern plains into the Rockies. Moisture being drawn up from the Gulf of Mexico. We get an upslope flow, that moisture going up and into the mountains, and that adds to the snowfall totals there, and then a lot of lift with this very powerful low. So everything coming together, but again, not moving very quickly. So the snow really starts to kick in this afternoon in Denver, as well as Cheyenne and Casper, and then it's going to be cranking tonight. We're going to be looking at a lot of wind in addition to that snow. That's 11 o'clock tonight, and that's Mountain Time. Then we'll go full 12 hours forward to 11 o'clock Mountain Time on Sunday, still really coming down with a lot of wind. And then we'll go another 12 hours forward to 11 p.m. tomorrow night, and you've still got snow coming down. So you're talking about 30 plus hours of snow with all kinds of wind, and then finally it does begin to wind down as we go into the day on Monday. So Felicia, we're talking about certainly a major snowstorm for parts of the Front Range there.
Yeah, you know, this isn't going to be that fun snowstorm that you want to be out and about in. This is the snowstorm that you need to take really seriously because it can get dangerous. So let's break it down for you for a place like Cheyenne, where we could see a historic snowfall here. I'm starting you out here this afternoon, but watch what happens as we put this into motion. You start to see those snowfall rates picking up into the heavy area as we head through the overnight hours tonight. Not just that, though, but we've got heavy snow, moderate to heavy snow coming down for hours, and also those very gusty winds. We're continuing with at least moderate snow as we head into early Sunday morning. But watch what also happens. These winds continue to pick up, and we're talking about 36, 39 mile per hour winds for multiple hours. And that's why we do have that blizzard warning that's going to be taking effect. It's going to meet that criteria most likely of being a blizzard with 35 mile per hour winds or more for 3 hours or more, reduced visibility with that snow falling. So 30 inches is the forecast there, especially north of I-80 around Cheyenne. About 2 feet as you head south along that I-25 corridor. And as Carl just showed you, once it gets started, we're going to be stuck in it for quite some time. We're talking about the snow falling consistently all weekend. And as you just saw in that graphic that I showed you, it is going to be heavy snow for quite some time, or at least moderate snow for quite some time. So currently the top 5 snowiest snowstorms of all time in Cheyenne. The highest was back in 1979, and it was just over 25.5 inches of snow that fell. And it does look like we could easily kind of blow that out of the water. Now, this is the cold side of this system, but Carl, we also have a dangerous, severe storm threat that we really have to take seriously as we head through the afternoon.
Yeah, that's right. We could be looking at some long track tornadoes developing in the Panhandle later today, and Texas on alert after this storm tore through Lubbock yesterday. Very clearly see the funnel there in what is called the dust envelope. That's where the tornado meets the ground there, churning up all kinds of dust and debris. And now the Panhandle under a torcon of 7, and that is the first since April 19th of last year. Storm's also capable of producing powerful winds and hail in Oklahoma City. That's another area that we're going to be watching today, 67, and as you can see, mostly cloudy skies right now. So we're watching this really powerful storm now coming out of the southwest and into the southern plains. And you know, a big part of what drives a severe weather threat is a lot of lift in the atmosphere. We've got that, along with very strong wind fields, and we've got that. So that deep layer shear is present, and that's part of what drives the rotation in storms. Now, looking at available energy, you can see that that is actually now on the increase in the Texas Panhandle, and right along the northwestern edge of that area of instability, that's where we're seeing some storms now firing up, and got a new warning to tell you about. I'm going to zoom down and get a better look at that. That is Union County under warning until 11:45. That coming across 412 there, and across 64 as well. Could be some large hail and some damaging wind. So here's the model forecast, and I want you to really pay attention to the area around Amarillo. That's where we expect that some supercell storms are going to get going, and again, everything's going to be in place. A lot of lift in the atmosphere, a lot of wind shear, plenty of instability, and so we could be looking at tornadoes that are on the ground for a while. That's what we mean by long track tornadoes. That developing in the Panhandle late this afternoon, continuing into the early evening hours, still some discrete cells there, and then we're going to see more of a linear area of storms developing beyond that, and that's going to mean more of a damaging wind threat, but certainly there could be some tornadoes within that. And then everything does begin to sort of settle down a bit as we go into late tonight, and it's going to be more of a heavy rain threat, but some additional severe weather. So the greatest potential for severe weather is going to be in that eastern part of the Texas Panhandle and along 27, or just east of 27, and along 40 as well. 7 out of 10 on the torcon between Amarillo and Elk City, and then a 5 out of 10 between Wichita Falls and Lubbock. So that's going to be the target area for those really strong storms this afternoon. Then also looking at a hail threat in a lot of the same areas, Amarillo and over into parts of Oklahoma. And then tomorrow we will once again see a severe threat, and that is going to be centered on Arkansas, also reaching across parts of the Mississippi River Valley. Felicia, over to you.
Thanks so much, Carl. So let's break it down. I cannot stress this enough or show you this enough. The torcons for today, Carl was just talking about it. When you have a torcon of 3, like we have for places like, say, Elk City or Woodward, you really need to be on the alert for an isolated tornado. But when you have a torcon of 7, like you have there around Pampa or Childress, you definitely have to be on alert. You have to have a plan of where you're going to go if your home is not safe to stay during a tornado, and you also just need to have some way to get those alerts. We are already starting to see some severe storms bubbling up here. That is in northeastern New Mexico, Union County. This has 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts with it, and nickel-sized hail, yeah. And it's moving over 412 right now. It's moving very, very quickly. We are going to see that moving north at about 50 miles an hour. So these storms are moving really quickly. They can be on you quickly as well, and you don't want to be caught out in that. So let's time it out a little bit more closely in Amarillo. You can see those storms bubbling up initially west of the city as we head into the early afternoon, 1, 2 o'clock, and then progressing eastward along that 40 corridor through Amarillo as we head through your afternoon. And Childress, you guys are going to be in on this as well, but watch what happens once we get what we call those discrete cells, those little pockets that you're seeing there. We could also see more of a linear type of storm mode as we head, which could bring damaging wind gusts into the overnight hours as well. We've got a lot to talk about, so stick around. We're back after the break.
Still your best friend.
Gold Bond, champion your skin.
Currently in our area, 69 degrees under cloudy skies. Today, generally cloudy, slight chance of a rain shower, high 66. Winds northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight, cloudy skies, slight chance of a rain shower, low 54. Winds north-northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Sunday, cloudy, slight chance of a rain shower, high 73. Winds east-northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
We log at the top of the world, a mile high into the mountains. That's where some of the best logging is.
It's absolutely insane up here.
Careful, careful, careful.
There's lots of things that can go wrong. The mud just does not stop.
You can't stay on the road.
You just hope you make it.
It's a battle against Mother Nature. It's not for everyone.
Let the fun begin.
Good afternoon. You're looking live at Colorado Springs, just down over the Palmer Divide. Look at the snow there. This is Colorado College, a great little small school there in the Springs. Heavy snow right now at the airport, 1/4 S plus. That's a quarter-mile visibility, S plus heavy snow. Temperature, though, 34. So it is above freezing, but when it snows that hard, it will start to slush up the highways, especially anything that's not untreated. And things are beginning to pick up here in downtown Golden. We're on the west side of Denver, a little higher than the city of Denver, right at the edge of the incline 70 going up to the ski resorts in the foothills. And you can see what's falling here. We've got some snow. Looks like we may have a little, some snow grains, but it is going to be picking up very. Can you hear those? Can you hear the birds up there? I don't know if you can hear that. It's really loud, but we're going to see more of the way of this, the intensity picking up. So in the next half an hour to an hour or so, the snowfall intensity will really ramp up across the Denver metro area. We've got a winter storm warning until 6 a.m. Monday morning. The worst travel by far will be tonight into Sunday morning. Once the sun goes down, and once the temperature falls below freezing here in the Front Range. So it's all coming up from the south and east. We've also got the severe threat in Texas, Felicia. So we've got all kinds of issues for travel. Speaking of travel, you've got the latest on all these major interstates out here that will likely be shut down for a while because of Xylia.
Yeah, Mike, it's going to be a big problem whether you are where we have the winter weather or the severe weather. Best to just stay home and stay in so you don't get stuck out there in a dangerous situation. Thanks so much, Mike. We'll check back in with you in just a bit. Let's take a look at this, though. More than 6 inches of snow creating dangerous conditions on the roads in Beaver, Utah yesterday. You can see a line of vehicles at a standstill on parts of I-15. The Utah Department of Transportation says there were multiple crashes and slide-offs. Stay home during this winter storm if you can, and if not, please slow down. You know what? I will say, If not, please slow down, but more importantly, just don't be out unless it's an emergency, especially for places like Cheyenne where traffic or travel could be basically impossible when you're talking about blizzard conditions in this system. So through this evening, we'll see that snow picking up tonight, that 80 corridor, 70, I-25. The winds also increasing. I cannot stress this enough. I know we don't all sometimes think of a snowstorm as being the peak of danger when you're talking about weather. You think of tornadoes and hurricanes and things of that nature. But anyone who has been in any type of dangerous type of snowstorm like this knows you do not want to be out and about in it, because you can get caught and you can get stuck, and then you might be in your car for a day or more and it becomes dangerous. So right now that snow is enveloping the I-25 corridor from Denver down through Pueblo. We're going to continue seeing that filling in tonight, but also tomorrow. Heavy snow and blizzard conditions are looking very likely, and travel will be basically impossible around Cheyenne, especially for these southeastern corners of Wyoming, portions of western Nebraska as well. It is going to be blinding out there. And you know, Carl, we throw around the word blizzard a little bit, or people do, not knowing that you actually have to meet a certain criteria for it to be called a blizzard, but it's looking like we're going to meet that criteria across portions of southeastern Wyoming easily. Yeah, it definitely does, and it's all about the wind, and we've got plenty of wind with this storm. So let's take a look first of all at the advisories, and you see this huge area of winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories, but then within that, the blizzard warnings now in effect southeastern Wyoming along 25 and along 40 as well, or 80 as well, excuse me, and then also into western parts of Nebraska. Now, what is a blizzard? It's a function of wind. So you've got to have sustained winds or frequent gusts above 35 miles per hour, and then also quarter-mile visibilities, and that's got to happen for 3 hours or longer. So it definitely looks like we're going to meet that criteria. It's not a function of heavy snow. You can actually have no snow and still have a blizzard just by snow being kicked up on the ground. So there's a look at how this is likely to play out. You see the winds there sustained in the middle 20s, the snow really picking up. That is later tonight. Then tomorrow morning, you notice here sustained winds at about 30 miles per hour or so. So we could easily see frequent gusts to 35 plus miles per hour. So we may already be getting into a blizzard condition at this time. And then by the time you get into the afternoon tomorrow, you've got sustained winds of 35 to 40 miles per hour. So you're absolutely going to be looking at blizzard conditions at that time. And then it does really begin to wind down by the time we get into late Sunday and early Monday. Still, though, fairly gusty. Well, we've got a Torcon of 7 for parts of the Texas Panhandle. We're looking for the possibility of some long track tornadoes today. That would be along Interstate 40 and along Interstate 27 as well. 7 out of 10 on the Torcon. That is between Amarillo and Elk City, and also now looking at a 5 out of 10 between Lubbock and Wichita Falls. We're going to have much more on all this severe weather coming up in just a few minutes.
You know they're out there.
Get into the out there. The Weather Channel.
Holy crap, look at that! It's a full condensed tornado.
Well, that is terrifying. On the warm side of Xylia, tornadoes tearing through the southern plains. Check out this twister tearing apart a structure in shallow water, Texas. That's just outside of Lubbock. It was one of 3 reported tornadoes that struck. It struck a small section of northwest Texas over a 3-hour period last night. Thunderstorms also unleashed heavy rain, winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour, and hail ranging in size up to 2 inches in diameter. No reports of any injuries at this time. Welcome back into special coverage on the Weather Channel as we track a potent winter storm getting underway and a dangerous tornado threat in parts of the southern plains. We have Torcons as high as 7. Remember, the greater the number, the greater the threat on that scale of 10. So let's get right to storm specialist Carl Parker with more on that severe threat. We will really most likely see more scenes like we just saw there as we head through this afternoon, Carl.
Yeah, I think there's a very good chance of that. We're looking at a really vigorous parent storm, and that's a big part of what what drives the severe weather threat. You can see this great big U-shaped feature across the southwest there, and that is now pulling out into the plains, starting to interact with more moisture coming off the Gulf of Mexico. So when we look at the available energy, that's a function of the low-level warm and humid air, along with how much colder it gets as you go up through the atmosphere. We've certainly got that. That is now increasing into the Panhandle, and right along the northwest edge of that, that's where we're seeing some stronger storms now firing up. A couple of warnings to tell you about. One near Tucumcari, looking at the possibility of some large hail and 70-mile-per-hour wind. This storm in Harding and Quay and San Miguel counties, and then to the north of that, another warning in effect for Union County that is going until 11:45. Again, very fast motion, indicative of all the wind that is in the atmosphere. Now, let's take a look at the high-resolution model forecast and look at these monstrous supercells popping out there east of 27, Amarillo and Lubbock as well. Those are the types of storms that could produce not only long-track tornadoes, but very large hail and really significant damaging winds. So the coverage is not going to be tremendous early on in the late afternoon, but where we do see storms, we will likely see some really vigorous storms. Now, those supercells will continue to move into western parts of Oklahoma. Then we see more of a line of storms developing, and certainly we will see an ongoing tornado threat, but we'll continue to see a damaging wind threat and a hail threat deep into the night. And then the storms finally do begin to settle down some as they make their way into western Oklahoma very late tonight. So what we've got on the Torcon is a 7 out of 10, and that is the highest value that we have seen since last April in this part of the world, and that is going to be primarily along I-40 east of 27 and then west of Elk City. That's going to be the sort of target area for those big supercells to develop this afternoon. Felicia, over to you.
Thanks so much, Carl. Winter storm Xylia will unleash significant snow on the Rockies and High Plains. A top 5 March snowstorm possible in Denver, while Cheyenne, Wyoming is expected to top the list for the biggest snowstorm of all time. This long-duration snow event will likely leave Fort Collins with nothing but falling snow to look at for more than 24 hours. If you are a snow lover, you're loving this because it is starting to come down. So let's take a look at what we've got going on here, where you see the bright kind of purplish shading across portions of Wyoming in Nebraska. That's a blizzard warning, and that's going into effect later tonight when things start to pick up. We've got winter storm warnings up and down that 25 corridor for the Front Range, back into some of the higher elevations of the Rockies as well. The National Weather Service out of Boulder just saying about 15 minutes ago that they are seeing that changeover happening now across the metro area. We've got some snow-covered roads in Lincoln and Douglas counties as well. So we are starting to see that changeover now. You've been in the snow for quite some time in Pueblo, so you guys have been in it. You're going to be stuck in it for a while now, and then we are also seeing that continue across the Denver metro area, and it's just going to pick up from here on out. We do have our own Mike Seidel there in Colorado, and Mike, yeah, the ground truth to the heavy wet flakes finally starting to come down. I know you've seen a couple already.
Yeah, it's snowing here now, but it's wet. It's not heavy yet. It will be heavier. And because temperatures are still running about 35, the ground has been warm. And we've got daylight. The roads, as you can see, are wet. But when it starts snowing really, really hard, we'll start to see things slushing up. By the way, major impacts at Denver International. About 750 flights canceled today in and out of there. Tomorrow, airlines have already canceled more than 1,100 flights. Southwest, SkyWest, United, the major impacted airlines, tomorrow from the storm. We'll come back. We've got more on this and more on that tornado threat in parts of the plains. We've got it all covered for you right on through 5 Eastern here on the Weather Channel. So stay with us here in March.
Losing a tooth didn't stop you.
All right, breaking now, we have a newly issued tornado watch for portions of New Mexico and western Texas. You can see that highlighted in the red here. This is until 6 p.m. Central Time, 5 p.m. Mountain Time there. Amarillo, you're included in that, as well as Clovis. A wider look shows Lubbock also included. That 27 corridor, all of it from Amarillo down through Lubbock, included in this risk. We're already starting to see severe storms bubbling up in this area, some of them packing a punch with wind gusts as high as 70 miles an hour. And of course, it is looking very likely that we are going to have issues with tornadoes as we head through the rest of this afternoon. So let's talk about it, whether you're in the warm sector of this system or in the severe sector. We are going to have dangerous travel implications throughout the entire weekend, especially I-80 and I-25. Let's take a focus on that here through the Front Range up into southeastern portions of Wyoming. Now, what's going to happen is the snow that you're seeing now, well, it's going to start to pick up, and then those roads are going to start to become snow covered, especially as we get some of the heavier snow to fall. The winds will increase, and what that is going to do, it's going to cause a reduction in visibility. So travel is going to be basically impossible tonight and into tomorrow. We're talking about heavy snow along that 80 corridor, at times even along the 90 corridor in some places, but especially here along the I-80 corridor around Cheyenne. We're talking about blizzard conditions. Travel will be dangerous. The thing about being out in this is if you get stuck, someone has to come out to save you. So really urging everyone to stay home, stay safe. This is not your kind of fun winter storm that you want to be out and about in. In fact, in the Cheyenne area, this could be the biggest snowstorm that we've seen in recorded history. So you really want to make sure you're being safe out there. A quick look at those blizzard alerts. I-80 Laramie is included in that, Wheatland as well, and that is going to kick in as we head into tonight. Well, according to the CDC, about 1,300 people die per year from extreme cold exposure, but these deaths can be prevented. Earlier, survival expert Creek Stewart shared some advice on AMHQ Weekend about what to do if you get stranded in the snow.
The last thing you want to do is actually leave your vehicle. And in fact, the only time you would ever want to leave your vehicle is if you spotted, if you were able to see a business or a home or a destination that you could absolutely reach. If you don't see that, you stay inside of your vehicle. So we've all heard of things to keep inside of an emergency kit, like socks or maybe a warm wool blanket. But let's talk about a couple of things that could make a huge difference that maybe you haven't heard of. One of them is a little inexpensive Mylar emergency blanket and a roll of duct tape. Believe it or not, whether it's in a vehicle or in a home, up to 40% of the heat loss can happen through the windows. So we could take this reflective emergency blanket and tape it on the windows. I'm inside of my car right now. I've used duct tape. I've taped that emergency blanket to cover up those windows. What that's going to do is that's going to reflect heat back into the vehicle, but it's also going to create a layer of dead airspace in between the blanket and the window, which is going to further prevent heat loss from the vehicle. So this can actually help retain up to 55% of the heat inside of the vehicle.
Should people be starting up the car and running the heat maybe periodically? What should they do there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Conserving gas is an issue, of course, if you are out there for an extended period of time. You want to make sure that the snow is cleared around your vehicle. You want to make sure that your exhaust is clear if you're in deep snow, because you don't want to trap carbon monoxide underneath of the vehicle, which could seep into the vehicle and cause an entirely different problem altogether. But one thing that a lot of people may not consider packing inside of their vehicle emergency kit are these little hand warmers. These are fantastic little warmers. I bought this bag of 20 for about $9. They don't have an expiration. They'll last for months and months and years. You can just throw them in a pocket in your car or in your trunk. And if you're ever trapped inside of your vehicle and you lose and you're running out of gas, these make perfect little backup heaters. You could take some duct tape and you could tape these onto the inside, like of your t-shirt or inside underneath of your jacket.
Those are great.
You can catch Creek tomorrow on Could You Survive with Creek Stewart at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 Central, right here on the Weather Channel. Carl?
Well, we're going to watch this storm make its way up into the Midwest, and that's going to mean snow in Ames, Iowa, as well as in Chicago. It's actually going to be kind of a messy mix in Chicago. Southern Minnesota getting in on that as well. So there are now winter storm watches in effect in southern parts of Minnesota as well as northern Iowa. Here's a look at the watches that are in effect right now along 35 and along Interstates 90. And here is our snowfall forecast. It's going to be a solid 5 to 8 inches in those areas. Lesser amounts in Chicago, but as I mentioned, it's going to be a bit of a mix. So here you see initially rain coming in, and then that begins to change over early on Monday. So Monday morning could be a little tricky in the Twin Cities, and Des Moines also heads up there in Chicago. That is freezing rain that will be coming in on Monday morning. That will change over to snow in the afternoon, and then some dribs and drabs beyond that, but for the most part it will be over. So probably a couple of inches in the Twin Cities. That's what we're thinking right now. The heavier amounts are going to be well off to the south, and there you see the forecast in the Twin Cities dropping down to 29 degrees tomorrow night. Then farther south, north of Des Moines, 6 to 7 to 8 inches in total. We'll have much more coming up.
Before Nexium 24-hour.
Currently in our area, 68 degrees under cloudy skies. Today, generally cloudy, slight chance of a rain shower, high 66. Winds northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight, cloudy skies, slight chance of a rain shower, low 54. Winds north-northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Sunday, cloudy, slight chance of a rain shower, high 73. Winds east-northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Now the snow is really kicking in south of here, down in Colorado Springs. Look at this, sticking to the yards and even some of the roads. This is what happens when you get heavy snow. Despite the fact we've got the March sun angle, the temperature is 34 above freezing, and the ground has been warm. So we're defeating all those negative factors with the snowfall rate, and that's what's going to happen across the Front Range this afternoon. Then tonight, we go below freezing, it gets dark, and kaboom, the snowfall rates plus the sticking and the temperatures going down to 29 or 30 here in Denver. That means travel is going to be basically dangerous, next to impossible, especially as you go up 70 into the foothills up towards the ski resorts. Thousands headed up yesterday. I went up to Idaho Springs for lunch, and boy, I'll tell you what, it seemed like every car was packed to the brim with their weekend clothes and their snacks and their skis and snowboards. Back here in Colorado Springs, the snow continues to pick up, but again, the saving grace is daytime in March, and you can see the road right now is just wet. Once the intensity picks up, we'll be able to show you some slushy accumulations as we go on through the afternoon. We're live on the Weather Channel till 5 Eastern, 3 here in the Mountain Time Zone. So a big snowstorm. It's going to be the biggest one of the season here in Denver. Not too tough to do. 9.6 back late last month. On the warm side, Carl, our first tornado watch of the day. What's the latest there from the areas around Texas and Oklahoma?
Well, Mike, it is starting to unzip right now in eastern New Mexico, and as you mentioned, there is a new watch, so we're just about ready to see a lot of fireworks there right along the state line, New Mexico and Texas. Very, very vigorous upper system in the southwest coming out into the plains. That is the linchpin in all this. That's what's driving that threat. So a couple of warnings to tell you about right now. Quay and Union counties under warning for damaging wind and large hail, and then a reissue there on the warning just to the northwest. Harding, Quay, and Union counties. These storms are rapidly moving northeast 40 to 50 miles per hour. But then farther southeast, I want you to notice these cells that are starting to develop there from Clovis and on southward. Those are the ones that we think are rapidly going to mature and are going to present a lot more of a threat going into the afternoon. So that is why there is a tornado watch in effect in parts of New Mexico and Texas along 27 and along 40. That that going until 6 o'clock this evening. And as we look at the model forecast, you notice 2 o'clock Central Time, we're really starting to see those supercells developing there. And if you look closely in the models, these models are pretty remarkable, and you can see that shape right there in some of those cells. That's the model that's all the information's feeding into this model, the instability, the wind shear, and it's saying the storm is going to take on that character where you've got rotation on the southwest end of that. So it's showing us supercells with that little hook echo developing, and so it's going to get really dangerous near Amarillo and down 27 and into Lubbock early this afternoon. Then those storms continuing to mature as they move east of 27 and along 40 there could very well be well-developed storms with long track tornadoes and large hail. And then we see a line of storms, so a second round developing behind that going into this evening, and those supercells coming out and moving into Oklahoma. And then finally everything does begin to settle down by later tonight. But Felicia, it's going to be pretty dicey, we think, over the next several hours there in the northwest part of Texas.
Yeah, certainly something that you want to take seriously, and that severe threat, it's going to continue into tomorrow, farther eastward though. So we want to talk about that. We've got that threat for the severe weather for Sunday. Places like Little Rock and Memphis will be in the bullseye for some feisty storms. We have a torcon of 3 in parts of eastern Arkansas, western Mississippi, and the southwest corner of Tennessee. That does include Memphis. So 2 to 3 on the torcon scale. That is telling me at least isolated tornado risk. You want to make sure you have some way to get those alerts and you are prepared for these storms that are going to be moving through. You see our torcon here. That is the Tornado Condition Index on a scale of 10. So Little Rock, you are included in that 3 on the torcon level. Memphis down through Greenville, Alexandria, you guys are seeing a 2 on the torcon scale there. So let's time it out for you as we head through Sunday, and this kind of line of storms and rain approaches Sunday afternoon in Little Rock. You can kind of see it's looking a little bit scattered, but as we head into the late afternoon, evening, and overnight hours, it's going to get its act together. We could have some damaging wind gusts, and as mentioned, an isolated tornado can't be ruled out as that moves through. This is what we're looking at in terms of the risk for severe thunderstorms as well. Those are those thunderstorms with winds 58 miles per hour or more gusting, or hail an inch or larger. Of course, it's going to come along with very heavy rain, lots of lightning, something you don't want to be out and about in. And we are going to continue to see that risk for some strong storms through the middle part of the week. We've got a very unsettled pattern ahead, and you can see by Wednesday we still have that risk of some severe storms across the lower Mississippi Valley. We've got more on all of this and Winter Storm Xylia. That's coming up after the break. Thank you.
A major late winter storm is now underway across the Front Range of Colorado. It's going to dump feet of snow in the foothills, and down here in the Front Range, we're expecting 1 to 2 feet of snow. It will easily be the biggest snowstorm of the year for many here in Colorado, plus travel. A major impact tonight into Sunday. Travel is going to be certainly awful, if not next to impossible. Good afternoon. We welcome you back to our extended coverage here. Winter Storm Xylia. I'm in Golden, Colorado. Good afternoon. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel. You can see the snow is coming down, but you can also see that the roads, at least here in Golden, west of Denver, are fine. They're just wet because the temperature here is still running above freezing. Just checking DIA, Denver International, out on the plains east of town. As of the top of the hour now, heavy snow, quarter-mile visibility, and the temperature's down to 33. Also at DIA today, 750 plus flights canceled in and out of the airport. Tomorrow, airlines, the major airlines Southwest, United, and SkyWest have canceled over 1,100 flights on Sunday. So I'm sure your air carrier has gotten in touch that you're going to have to fly back on Monday or Tuesday. So Felicia, big storm, but March is the snowiest month of the season, of the year, here in Denver, so it's not unusual to see snow like this. Again, the issues will really be compounded once the sun goes down and temperatures fall below freezing.
Yeah, we're going to be stuck in it for quite some time. Thanks so much, Mike. Of course, Mike on the cold side of this system, but we also have a warm side that's bringing us severe weather. Scary moments in shallow water, Texas yesterday when a tornado tore through the area. You can see tons of debris swirling around. You can also see rotation in the clouds. There were also reports of 2-inch hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. And heavy snow coating roads is to blame for several crashes in Beaver, Utah yesterday. Semis jackknifed, others were tipped over. The crashes forced the closure of northbound lanes of Interstate 15, backing up traffic. 6.5 inches of snow has fallen there in just the past 24 hours. And it's a classic spring battle of winter and severe. Winter Storm Xylia putting about 7 million under winter alerts right now, including those of you in Denver. We could see 2 to 3 feet of snow stack up near the Front Range mountains and foothills to the south. A dangerous severe storm threat is taking shape, packing the potential for large hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes. Guys, we've got to take this seriously. We have a Torcon of 7 in place in the Texas Panhandle, and we've already started to see some of those severe storms ramping up across that area. So let's break it down as to what is going on currently with Winter Storm Xylia. We've got blizzard warnings, winter storm warnings, winter weather advisories spread out all across the high plains and the Front Range. Where you see this pink here, that is representing a blizzard warning encompassing southeastern Wyoming, portions of western Nebraska as well. Scottsbluff, you're included in that. That is going to be picking up tonight and lasting into tomorrow. And then all along the Front Range, that I-25 corridor as you head up in elevation to Aspen, winter storm warnings as well. We're talking about initially a very heavy, wet snow, and then we'll get those temperatures to fall a bit more, and it's going to become more powdery. It's going to blow around easily, and that's going to really reduce that visibility tonight as we head into tomorrow. So the snow has started to come down. We've got that switchover ongoing, and now we are in it. Welcome officially to Winter Storm Xylia in the Denver area. Pueblo, you guys have been stuck in the snow for quite some time. Colorado Springs, you're getting it currently. We'll be on and off there along that 25 corridor. And in Denver, as mentioned, we are starting to see that snow really coming down. Boulder, you're in it as well. And when we get that shift of the winds and that upslope flow, we're really going to start to see the foothills being impacted by the snow coming down. Now, of course, we have our own Mike Seidel. He is in Golden, Colorado. And Mike, you've mentioned it. The roads there not in bad shape just yet, but all it's going to take is a really good snow band, and you're going to start to see those roads becoming more covered.
Yeah, certainly a couple of heavy snow bands will take care of that. And then once we get darkness and the temperature goes down to 32 or below, the roads tonight were going to be a real mess, even the ones that are plowed and salted. Hey, I got to let you know that there is a good side of this storm. You got to remember the Southwest, a lot of the western part of the U.S. is in a horrible drought. In fact, in the state of Colorado, 98.5% of the state is in some type of drought stage. Get this, exceptional to extreme drought in Colorado. 54%, almost 55% of the state. So about half the state is in the worst 2 categories of drought. So this is a godsend for the drought, the upcoming fire season, and in the short term for the skiers, as thousands went up there yesterday to the ski resorts. And I had friends back in Georgia and other folks I talked to yesterday that flew in early to beat the storm, because today they've already canceled, as I mentioned, over 750 flights in and out of Denver International, where they're getting heavy snow right now. We'll time it out for you. Again, the snow intensity picks up right now through the afternoon hours. Tonight, heavy snow at times, right into Sunday. Now, tonight again, once we lose the daylight and the temperatures fall down to 29 or 30 here in the Front Range, everything is really going to get tough for travel. And already in the foothills and up in the ski resorts, it's snowing and it's below freezing. So you know the drill going up 70 in this kind of situation. Tomorrow, the big difference tomorrow will introduce the wind. Winds get gusts here in the Front Range, 30 to 40 miles an hour, even up towards Casper. In those areas, out into western Nebraska, we've got blizzard warnings. Some of those areas could see wind gusts over 50 miles an hour. Tomorrow, the temperature expected to get up to about 33 or 34. That with daylight should help us out a little bit on the roads. But boy, until late morning or lunchtime, it's going to be tough travel through the Front Range. The snow will end tomorrow evening. Then Monday will be kind of cloudy and chilly. It's going to get above freezing, but we're not going to see what we sometimes see in March and April snowstorms here in Denver, Colorado. It snows one day, or it's 70 one day, it snows the next day, and the next day it's in the 60s. It's not going to warm up dramatically on Monday and Tuesday. But warm side of the storm today, you've got a lot of work ahead of you, Mr. Parker, with a severe threat, and already our first tornado watch of the day.
Yeah, that's right, Mike, and really good news there as regards the water needs along the Front Range. Thank you so much. And we are talking about an historic storm here. We're going to see some records most likely blown away by this storm. That is 2 to 3 feet of snow in Wyoming and also in north central parts of Colorado. And, you know, a big part of the reason for that is the fact that the storm is just not going to move very much at all. This is what we call a cutoff low that's separated from the main jet stream, which is well off to the north there. And as it's cut off, it's just kind of drifting in this lighter flow to the south, and that's why it's going to be around for at least a couple of days. So you've got the low pressure developing in Texas, very cold air to the north of that. Plenty of moisture being drawn off the Gulf of Mexico and then into the Rockies. And as it comes into the Rockies, we get additional lift in the atmosphere, which makes it a little bit colder and squeezes out a little bit more precip. And then a very strong upper low and a lot of lift associated with that, also adding to the snowfall rate. So here you see our forecast, and the snow really developing right now, and it's going to continue and only step up as we get into tonight. So that's 11 o'clock. Mountain time really coming down, winds picking up, Wyoming, most of the state of Colorado. Then we'll go 12 hours forward into tomorrow morning, 11 a.m., and it's basically the same thing. It hasn't changed very much at all. Still really coming down, still a lot of wind. And then into 11 o'clock tomorrow night, it's finally beginning to thin out some, but the wind's actually getting stronger through the afternoon tomorrow. And then finally, it does begin to depart as we get into Monday evening. Felicia, over to you.
Thanks so much, Carl. Let's check out this new video of Colorado Springs, where the snow is just starting to get started from Winter Storm Xylia. You could see anywhere from 8 to 12 inches of snow from this storm. And yeah, you can see the roads not covered just yet. But once we really continue to see that snow coming down, you are going to start to see those roads becoming covered. Eventually, we'll see visibility reduced as well when that snow starts coming down a bit harder and the wind starts blowing. So certainly want to make sure you're not out and about in this. Could be very dangerous. In fact, could be impossible to be traveling as we head through tonight and early tomorrow in places like Cheyenne. So let's break it down for you here. What you're looking at, this may seem like a lot of mumbo jumbo when you first take a look at this, but it's very, very informative. Here are the wind speeds and directions, and here's the snow rate. So light, moderate, heavy. Moderate to heavy already is going to reduce that visibility in a place like Cheyenne, but throw in some 20, 25, 30 mile per hour winds, and you're talking about greatly reduced visibility, if not whiteout conditions. And you are in that snow all day today, or for the rest of the day today, all night tonight, throughout Sunday as well. But watch what happens as we head through Sunday. We start to see those winds picking up. Now, the criteria for a blizzard is 3 hours or more of winds at 35 miles an hour or more, with snow coming down, reducing visibility. And we are really likely going to see that. You can see the forecast here is for hours of winds above 35 miles an hour, while we have that moderate to heavy snowfall rate early Sunday morning. I cannot stress this enough. If you're in Cheyenne, you do not want to be out really at all, but especially tonight into early Sunday morning. It's going to be dangerous travel with these type of snowy conditions. The forecast here for more than 2 feet of snow, especially north of that I-80 corridor around Cheyenne, and then as you head up in elevation there as well to the west. So here's what we're looking at. This is the future radar, and it kind of just shows you the radar version of that graphic that I was just showing you. Heavy snow for not hours, but for days for this area, and the blowing wind going to reduce that visibility. So the forecast you just saw around Cheyenne, about 30 inches. That would absolutely knock the previous biggest snowstorm out of the water. You can see the previous record, 25.6 inches, and we could certainly see more than that. Now, that is the cold side of this system, but Carl, we also have the warm side of this system, that classic spring setup, and that severe threat is beginning to ramp up.
Yeah, that's right. We are getting some warnings right now, and we saw some severe weather yesterday in Texas, Twister in the Lubbock area, the very same area under threat today. Here you see a very thin little rope funnel there, and what we call the dust envelope at the base of that. That's the dust and debris being kicked up by that circulation, and did get some damage out of these storms yesterday, and that's certainly going to be a threat again today. And here's a live look at Oklahoma City, where we may not see that much in the way of severe weather as this big mass of storms comes into Oklahoma. It's going to be moving into slightly more stable air there. And so it's probably going to be heavy rain, could be some hail and some wind as well, but it's not going to be as much of a threat as it will in the Panhandle. So what's driving all of this is this really vigorous upper level system, and you can really get a sense of, you know, how profound an atmospheric disturbance this is. And also notice right in here, that's where we're getting the lift in the atmosphere, where winds are pulling apart right there. So that lift is a big part of what drives severe weather, along with very strong winds. Strong wind fields are also a big part of this. And then we've got warm and humid air coming up into the Panhandle, and then temperatures getting colder as you get farther up in the atmosphere. That's what we call instability. There is plenty of that, and right along the northwest edge of that is where we are now seeing warnings popping out, right along I-40 there, severe thunderstorm warning, and then a brand new one. I'm going to move just a little farther north, brand new one coming out into Clayton there, and the threat here has been wind and hail. But we are also watching this area right there from Clovis and on southward, where we've got some developing cells, and those are the cells that are likely going to be the big severe weather producers going through this afternoon. So tornado watch in effect until 6 p.m. this evening across parts of I-40, as well as 27 Amarillo and down into Lubbock. And so we'll watch as these cells continue to ramp up through this afternoon. So that's going to be the main show right there. That's where we're expecting to see possibly some long track tornadoes, very large hail, damaging wind. That could affect you in Lubbock, in Amarillo, up and down 27, across 40. And those supercells are only going to mature over the next few hours after that, making their way east of Amarillo and across I-40 there. And then we'll see a line of storms developing all along the dry line behind that. So a second round of storms, still some individual supercells coming into western Oklahoma. And then you'll notice that everything does begin to settle down some as we get deeper into the evening. So there is going to be some threat for severe weather in Oklahoma City, but it's not going to be as high as it will be farther west. So there you see the sort of a bullseye for severe weather, and that would be from Oklahoma on westward, Elk City over to Amarillo, 7 out of 10 on the Torcon in those areas. Felicia?
Yeah, that's right, Carl, and that's a big deal. You're talking about a 70% chance, or you know, on the 1 to 10 scale here. So that is a high likelihood of these tornadoes. Even though Elk City, we don't want to diminish your Torcon of 3, though, because that is still the possibility of a tornado. Here's what we've got going on right now. You can see this line kind of starting to take form, and we've got multiple severe thunderstorm warnings there west of Amarillo along that I-40 corridor, kind of on the New Mexico-Texas border here. These are they're moving kind of south to north, but the line itself is going to continue to progress eastward as well. So here's what we're looking at: 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts with some of these 60 to 70 mile per hour, nickel to quarter size hail also possible in some of these storms. So we're starting out here in Amarillo. You'll see those kind of cells. Carl has pointed it out. The radar picking up, or the future radar picking up on those discrete cells. That is the possibility of those tornadoes. But then we'll also have a cold front. It actually ends up catching up with the dry line here, and that is going to take on more of kind of a linear segment here, especially east of the 27 corridor. And with that, then we see not only the risk for tornadoes, but also we see it morph into a risk for those damaging wind gusts as well. And that's going to continue as we head into the early overnight hours. Hail is likely large hail, severe size hail from Amarillo through Elk City down through Snyder. So we have multiple different threats coming along with these storms that we'll see. Mike.
Good afternoon from Golden, Colorado. The snow has picked up here. We've got heavy snow at the airport. We'll let you know how many feet fall, the impacts, and that tornado threat too in Texas coming up.
Special. Occasional constipation.
Currently in our area, 68 degrees under cloudy skies. Today, generally cloudy, slight chance of a rain shower, high 66. Winds northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight, cloudy skies, slight chance of a rain shower, low 54. Winds north-northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Sunday, cloudy, slight chance of a rain shower. High 73. Winds east-northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
We log at the top of the world, a mile high into the mountains. That's where some of the best logging is.
It's absolutely insane up here.
Careful, careful, careful. There's lots of things that can go wrong.
The mud just does not stop.
You can't stay on the road. You just hope you make it.
It's a battle against Mother Nature. It's not for everyone.
Let the fun begin.
Charles Peak is out on the highways for us today. He's up in southeast Wyoming. He's now driving west of Casper towards Laramie on I-80. These are the areas, a lot of these areas under blizzard warnings. You can see the roads are still wet. The snow is starting to stick on the grass. Temperatures are right around freezing or maybe a degree below. So it's colder up there than down here in the Front Range of Colorado. Charles is going to be up in the Casper area throughout the storm through tomorrow and Monday. And this is an area where we could see, much like here, we could see two major interstates shut down, I-80 and also the north-south interstate, I-25. Back here in Golden, I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel. It is a bright day, and that's helping us out, especially with a high March sun angle. You can see the snowfall intensity has picked up considerably. When we started with you about an hour ago, it was barely snowing. It was like a little snow and rain mix, but the roads are still fine right now. As the snow intensity picks up, they will begin to slush up a little bit, but the real impact on travel will be tonight. Once the sun goes down and temperatures fall just below freezing, we're looking for a low in the Front Range of 29 or 30. It's already below freezing up in the foothills. And then the snowfall rates maybe 1, potentially 2 inches an hour before it winds down through the afternoon and Sunday evening. The additional impact tomorrow, which could cause power outages, will be the wind. Winds could gust here in the Front Range upwards of 40 miles an hour. But Felicia, it's early in the season, so there's little, if any, foliage. In fact, no foliage on the trees here in the Front Range and up in the mountains. So that will save us a little bit on the wet snow sticking. It'll stick to the limbs. It's not going to stick to the trees, but it will stick to the limbs and also the power lines.
Yeah, we'll take some good news where we can get it, Mike, but best bet is to just stay home and prepare for those power outages just in case. Thanks so much, Mike. More than 6 inches of snow creating dangerous conditions on the roads in Beaver, Utah yesterday. You can see a line of vehicles at a standstill on parts of I-15. The Utah Department of Transportation says there were multiple crashes and slide-offs. Just stay home during this winter storm, and if for some reason you have to go out for some emergency reason, you really have to slow down and know what you're getting yourself into, because at times throughout this weekend, traffic and travel is not only going to be dangerous, but it's going to be impossible because of the blizzard conditions that we will be experiencing across portions of the high plains. So you see the roads highlighted here, 80, 70, 25. That snow is going to continue picking up across this area tonight. You're going to get some heavy snow coming down, and that is going to be also, as we start to see those winds increasing, that is going to take that travel down to 0 at times. So you don't want to be out and about in this. This is what we're looking at. The radar currently filling in across the Front Range. Cheyenne, you guys are kind of in a little bit of a pocket in between the heavier precipitation, but Denver down through Pueblo, you guys are in that snow right now. 76, 70, going to be a messy go of it, especially as you know, you head west, you head up in elevation. That is going to cause some issues, and you don't want to be out and about and stuck in any of those mountain roads. Heavy snow tomorrow, blizzard conditions across portions of Wyoming and maybe even western Nebraska. With that, you're going to have that visibility greatly reduced. You're going to have those winds blowing, and you could encounter problems like maybe downed trees where we have some of the gustiest winds as well. So travel is being said to be impossible along 25 and 80 through portions of Wyoming tomorrow. So we are seeing those blizzard conditions possible. And Carl, blizzard potential. A lot of people kind of will throw that blizzard word out as soon as they see some blowing snow. You have to meet certain criteria to be a blizzard, but it does look like we're going to meet that pretty easily.
Yes, we certainly are. It's going to go on for a long long, long time, but exactly right. There are very specific criteria that have to be met, and now blizzard warnings in effect in southeast Wyoming as well as western parts of Nebraska, and that's where we think the wind is going to be strong enough to give us a blizzard. So it has nothing to do with the amount of snow that is coming down. It is all about the wind and how the wind changes the visibility. So when we get either sustained winds or frequent gusts to 35 miles per hour and then a visibility of 1/4 mile or less for 3 hours or longer, then you've officially got a blizzard. So let's take a look at the conditions here in Cheyenne, Wyoming. So you see the winds up to the middle 20s for a lot of tonight, so perhaps not quite there. Then by tomorrow morning, we're seeing sustained winds around 30 miles per hour. So you can imagine that we would be looking at winds gusting to 35 miles per hour. So whether that meets the criteria or not, it's going to be close, certainly. But certainly, as we get into Sunday afternoon, here you see sustained winds between 30 and 40 miles per hour. So no question, by that time you've got the wind, and it's going to be going on for hours and hours, and that means a lot of blowing and drifting of snow. In general, it's going to be really, really tough to get around, so please keep that in mind. And then the wind still going there as the snow winds down into very late on Sunday. Coming up, we're going to talk much more about the severe threat, Torcon of 7 now for parts of the Panhandle from Amarillo and on eastward. We'll have much more on this dangerous threat. Storms now beginning to get going. We'll talk about that coming up.
Holy crap, look at that! Oh, it's a full condensed tornado.
And on the warm side of Xylia, tornadoes tearing through the southern plains. Check out this twister tearing apart a structure in shallow water, Texas, just outside of Lubbock. It was one of 3 reported tornadoes that struck a small section of northwest Texas over a 3-hour period last night. Thunderstorms, also unleashed heavy rain, winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour, and hail ranging in size up to 2 inches in diameter. No reports of any injuries at this point, but terrifying video there. Well, welcome back into special coverage on the Weather Channel as we track a potent winter storm getting underway and a dangerous tornado threat in parts of the southern plains. We have torcons as high as 7. Remember, the greater the number, the greater the threat. So we want to get right to our storm specialist, Carl Parker. We are watching that severe threat kind of, I think you said unzip earlier, Carl, and that's exactly what's going to be happening as we head through the afternoon. Yeah, those storms are really starting to get going now right along the New Mexico-Texas state line, and that's ahead of this really powerful upper level system. You can really get a sense of how profound an atmospheric disturbance this is. Great big spin in the atmosphere right through there. A lot of lift just ahead of that, a lot of very strong wind. So that is what is now coming into the instability that is necessary to produce tornadoes. When we talk about instability, available energy, that is low level warm and humid air, but also the change in temperature as you go up through the atmosphere. Does it get a lot colder as you go up? Because that helps storms to really bubble up. So right along the northwest edge of that is where storms are starting to go right now. There's a bunch of severe thunderstorm warnings that are now in effect again right along that state line there. There Curry and Quay counties under warning, and then to the north of that I've got another warning in effect here for Quay and Union counties, and the motion is generally northeast about 40-50 miles per hour, and it's a wind and hail threat for now, but these storms are getting a lot stronger. You notice in the satellite picture we're starting to see some real deep shadows there. That's because the storms are getting a lot taller, so they're continuing to develop, and as they do that, they're going to be in an environment where they're going to start to spin, and that's why we think there is this risk for tornadoes, and not just tornadoes, but long track tornadoes, ones that are on the ground for a long time. So tornado watch in effect until 6 o'clock tonight, that into that 40 and 27 area near Amarillo and Lubbock. So a lot of the same spots that were threatened yesterday may be looking at tornadoes again today. So here you see the high resolution model forecast. So by 2 p.m.,
Storms really starting to get going along that 27 corridor. There we go, just a little bit farther. Notice how you see that shape right there in that cell. That's indicating that circulation there, that hook echo that we talk about in the southwest side of the cell. So these are absolutely going to be rotating storms capable of producing tornadoes, very large hail, and damaging wind. Supercell still going strong there into late afternoon east of Amarillo and Lubbock. And then we're going to watch those cells move in Oklahoma, and then a big line of storms developing, and then it's going to morph into more of a damaging wind threat, a little less of a tornado threat, and then the threat will be coming down as we get into later tonight, Felicia. So it's going to be pretty active, we think, over the next several hours here in the Texas Panhandle.
Yeah, it is a messy time there up and down the southern plains into the high plains and the Rockies. Different reasons for different places, though. On the cold side of this system, we've got Winter Storm Xylia creating blizzard conditions possible tonight. We've got winter storm warnings in effect up and down the Front Range. The pink is the blizzard warnings for portions of western Nebraska and southeastern portions of Wyoming there. We're going to see conditions continue to deteriorate as we head through the next several hours. So right now we've got much of eastern Colorado under some sort of precipitation. You can see Denver under the snow right now, Castle Rock down through Colorado Springs. We do have that I-25 corridor. So, Mike, we've got you in Golden, and as of your last shot, we could see that snow starting to come down much heavier than it had been, and so it looks like we're in it now.
We're in it, and the fortunate thing for the afternoon is the temperatures are above freezing, and we've got the March sun angle. So the roads here in Golden and across most of the Front Range are in pretty good shape because a lot of them have been pre-treated. I noticed that last night, and they're ready for this. This has been on the weather maps since earlier in the week, and we're expecting 1 to 2 feet of snow. So the snowfall intensity has picked up. Most airports now moderate to heavy snow, whether you're out in Broomfield or at Buckley or out at DIA, where they've already canceled now. I think it's about 1,850 flights between today and tomorrow. So lots of impacts here in Colorado. Also the severe threat. We'll run it all down for you. The timing out, and also we'll go back to Carl Parker and more on that tornado threat. We do have a tornado watch out for parts of the southern plains.
The cabin we're staying at is a really nice place. You know, we bought all of our groceries. We're ready to stay in a few days if we need to.
An Iowa family ready to hunker down for quite the storm. Our own Charles Peak caught up with the McFarlands yesterday at Rocky Mountain National Park, where the kids got a ski lesson from Dad. The snow that Winter Storm Xylia will bring will be a ski lover's dream, but a travel nightmare if you're on the road. So let's get to your forecast. I would say just don't be on the roads, especially tonight into tomorrow early along this I-80 corridor here through southern portions of Wyoming. Travel is going to be impossible at times because of the blizzard conditions. We're talking about greatly reduced visibility, and not just for a short period of time. We're talking about hours of this. So if you're out and you happen to get stuck, you're going to be stuck in it for quite some time. A closer look at where we have our blizzard warning along 80, Laramie included in that, as well as Rollins, Wheatland also included in that. We're stretching that over into western portions of Nebraska. So Scottsbluff, you guys are under that blizzard warning, really ramping up tonight, lasting into tomorrow morning as that snow starts coming down more heavily and the winds pick up. In terms of airport impacts across the high plains, across the Rockies tomorrow, we are looking at high weather impacts. We've already seen hundreds of flights canceled today, canceled or delayed today, and tomorrow will likely be even worse. So if you have travel plans, you definitely want to check with your airport. And of course, as we know, that has a ripple impact. It doesn't just stay here. Sometimes you see other flights being impacted in other parts of the country because of the weather that we're seeing here. So that's something to keep in mind. Well, as Winter Storm Xylia cranks up, conditions on the road across parts of the Centennial State will deteriorate. Joining us right now is Tamara Rollinson, Region 1 Communications Manager with the Colorado Department of Transportation. Thanks so much for being with us. Now, we are starting to see that snow picking up. How are the roads doing right now?
It is picking up. We are beginning to see some slush and icy spots on some of our major roadways. Nothing is accumulating at this point, but we expect that to change very, very quickly. The pavement is warm, so as soon as the snow hits, it's melting right now, but that will change very quickly.
And we know you guys are equipped for dealing with snow, of course. So how many plows are being deployed to keep the roads clear?
In the Denver metro region, we have about 110 plows, and they are out right now. And then Region 1 is the Denver metro area of CDOT, which covers the I-70 mountain corridor, which is from Denver to the Eisenhower Johnson Memorial Tunnel. And we have about an additional 28 plows on that stretch because we anticipate some very heavy snow on that stretch of I-70 as well, too. We also have heavy equipment staged in the event that we have to remove heavy snow. We have additional staff, so we've really staffed up for the snow event because we're expecting more than we normally get for the metro area.
Yeah, this is going to be a big snowmaker, that's for sure, above average for what you typically see in March. Are there any areas in particular that you're most concerned about?
We're concerned about the I-70 mountain corridor, particularly as people may be headed up to the ski resorts. And so we have seen that the traffic is lower than usual. So a great shout out to motorists for getting to their destinations earlier. We also expect some heavier snowfall rates along our foothills, the areas west of Denver and also north. But we anticipate the whole metro region will be heavily impacted by this.
And of course, we're advising people over and over again, don't travel if you don't have to, but if you have to be on the roads, what would you advise travelers?
If you have to be on the roads, I would only do it for very essential reasons. If you have an essential job, for example, or you deliver an essential service, you definitely need to have the right tires for the weather, either snow tires. You need to have a four-wheel drive or an all-wheel drive vehicle. If you don't, you need to carry some chains. So you need to be prepared for the worst. And another thing, if you are out, you should have an emergency kit. And this is something that we advise motorists from very early in the season. A lot of us have in the back of our car, we have extra blankets and water, and we have batteries and food and that kind of thing, just in case there is a road closure and you're stranded.
Yeah, you definitely want to be prepared as best as possible and stay home if you can. Tamara, thanks so much for being with us. That's Tamara Wallison with the Colorado Department of Transportation. Lots of valuable information there. Of course, Carl, Xylia is going to be having a big impact pretty much the entire weekend.
Yeah, and it's going to make its way up into the Midwest into the early part of next week. So let's take a look at where the advisories are right now. Winter storm watch is up in parts of Minnesota as well as into northern Iowa. That's where we're expecting to see several inches of snow. There's a look at our current forecast, a pretty sizable area of 5 to 8 there from just south of the Twin Cities and north of Des Moines. Initially, it's going to start out as rain, and then we'll transition to snow as we get into some colder air. Computer is not cooperating for one reason or another, but you'll just have to trust me on that. Let's take a look. Oh, and it just skipped right by. I'm going to rewind this because I want you to see it. And it's still not cooperating, so we'll get back to that. But let's take a look at the forecast for snowfall. And what we're thinking right now is probably a couple of inches in the Twin Cities, but more as you get more down towards the Iowa state line there. Des Moines, maybe not very much, but quite a gradient where you get into a lot more on the north side of the metro, and then as much as 7 to 8 inches around Waterloo. Well, coming up, we're going to talk much more about the snow in Denver and the severe threat. Stay tuned for that.
It all starts.
Currently in our area, 68 degrees under cloudy skies. Today, generally cloudy, slight chance of a rain shower, high 66. Winds northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight, cloudy skies, slight chance of a rain shower, low 54. Winds north-northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Sunday, cloudy, slight chance of a rain shower, high 73. Winds east-northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Heavy snow picked up first earlier south of here in Colorado Springs, and this is some great looking drone video from that area, El Paso County, down 25. On the other side of the Palmer Divide, light snow now at the airport, and much like all the other airports in the Front Range, temperatures are just above freezing, 34 there right now, but you can see how everything has been covered up that basically isn't a road surface. Something, or some of the ground too. It's been mild, so the ground temperatures are warm. Now as the snow continues to fall, that'll cool down the road surfaces. Temperatures after sundown will fall to and below freezing in the Front Range, so that's really going to impact the airports and also the roadways. Airports already, Denver International now, over 1,900 flights have been canceled today and tomorrow. Over 1,100 tomorrow. So more than likely, your flight's been canceled. The three biggest airlines hit: SkyWest, United, and Southwest. Here in downtown Golden, the roads are, again, wet. No impacts yet, but again, tonight into Sunday morning will be the major impacts. Snowfall rates this afternoon into the overnight and Sunday morning could be 1 to 2 inches an hour. And with temperatures falling, and then the winds pick up tomorrow. So we could get a little blowing snow, especially where it's colder in the foothills and farther north up towards, say, the Cheyenne and Casper area. Some of those areas in Wyoming and Nebraska have blizzard warnings because winds there could gust upwards of 40 to 50 miles an hour. As the case often is in March and April, we have a cold side and we have a warm side. Carl Parker, the warm side, and severe weather and potentially some tornadoes today and this evening.
Yeah, that's right, Mike. We could be looking at some long track tornadoes going into this evening, and we want to show you some video of one of the tornadoes that occurred yesterday. This is in Shallow Water, Texas. Look at that debris. Looks like a barn there and some sort of outbuilding, and then you can see that debris, the dust envelope, and there are two different components here. Right in there, first of all, you see that dust that's kind of going from left to right. That's what we call the dust envelope. That's all the darker color that's being drawn up there. But then you can also make out this column right in there, and that is what we call the condensation funnel. So that is actually cloud that develops by virtue of there being low pressure. So every once in a while you get a look at both of these elements. A lot of times tornadoes are backlit, and so it all kind of looks like the same thing, but when it's front lit, when you've got the source of light behind you, the sun behind you, then you've got a much better view of those two distinct elements within a tornado. The condensation funnel didn't last that long, and so it was, kind of strong for a short time there. You can still see a little part of it near the top of the screen right in there, but a lot of the rest of it went away because the pressure just wasn't low enough for it to form a cloud relative to the amount of moisture that was available. But a pretty dramatic video showing you up close and personal tornado, and we may see more scenes like that today. We've got a very powerful parent system now coming in. You can really see that swirl in the atmosphere right there, indicative of a major atmospheric disturbance. And right now we've got a line of storms developing from Dalhart on southward down towards Clovis, and that is where things could get really active here in the next couple of hours. There's a tornado watch in effect going until 6 o'clock tonight that covers all of Interstate 27 and a large part of 40 from Tucumcari over into Amarillo. I think the threat really is beginning to end now on the far western edge of that. It's basically right along the dry line where we're going to watch this development. So next couple of hours, we're going to see these cells really get going, starting to really crank and starting to tighten up and also develop a spin in the middle of them, a rotating updraft, and that's the beginning of the process that leads to tornadoes. So really well-developed supercells, we think, by late this afternoon Central Time from east of Amarillo and Lubbock and along 25. So in Amarillo and Lubbock, you certainly will be looking at a tornado threat, and then that is going to scoot a little further east later this afternoon. Those cells coming in Oklahoma, but a second line then developing. Tornado threat down just a little bit with this more linear convective system. It's going to be more of a damaging wind threat, but there may still be some tornadoes embedded within that. And then all of it begins to really settle down later tonight. A lot of this is going to run away from the greatest instability, and so by the time it gets to Oklahoma City, it's mostly going to be heavy rain and lightning with some gusty wind and some hail. And then out outside chance of a tornado. But we think the greatest threat is definitely going to be farther west. The center of concern there is generally east of 27 on either side of Interstate 40 throughout the Panhandle, especially in the eastern part of the Panhandle. 7 out of 10 on the Torcon, and we've got a 5 out of 10 from areas east of Lubbock and along 27. So very serious, severe threat, the worst that we have seen since about a year ago. And we're going to talk much more about this coming up in just a few minutes.
I felt.
What else?
Good afternoon. Welcome back to the Weather Channel's continuing coverage of Winter Storm Xylia. It is going to be a big one here in Colorado, and you're looking live. This is Fort Morgan. This is that area north and east of Denver out on the high plains where they're used to seem like they always have a tornado watch every afternoon. No tornado watches today, but you can see the snow coming down out there. You go out towards Weld County on 76 heading towards the western panhandle of Nebraska, where those areas are under blizzard warnings through tomorrow night and early Monday morning, but starting to stick to everything but the roads. That's the key right now, because the temperature is still just above freezing, and this sun angle, we're just days away from the first day of spring, the old equinox. So we've got a very high sun angle that's really helping us out, and that'll do a good job tomorrow once we get past say mid-morning to late morning, as the snow will continue to fall, but temperatures should edge up just above freezing here in the Front Range. We're down here in Golden. We're just west of downtown Denver. Beautiful, iconic town right at the foothills of Colorado. Speaking of the foothills, that's where you're going to get clobbered. 8,000 feet. You go up the incline, Evergreen, Idaho Springs. Those ski resorts on this side of the divide, like Winter Park and those areas. A Basin. We could see as much as 3 feet of snow, and along with that, the winds will really pick up, especially down here in the Front Range later tonight, but Sunday and Sunday night. That's why we have the blizzard warnings in parts of Nebraska and Wyoming. And here in the Denver metro area, we could see wind gusts over 40 miles an hour. Now, it's going to be kind of a heavy, wet snow. It'll be a little drier snow overnight, so we'll see how much blowing and drifting we actually get on Sunday. Boy, the damage has already been done at Denver International Airport already this weekend. Nearly 2,000 flights canceled, 1,950 flights and change, and about 1,200 flights have been canceled on Sunday. Major air carriers impacted: United, Southwest, and SkyWest. Generally, just about all those flights in and out of Denver from those airlines have been canceled, but check with your air carrier and look ahead to Monday and Tuesday as everybody has to rebook and everything gets spilled over. Concern at DIA tomorrow will be the snow and the wind. They're out there east of town, wide open, and those winds will be gusting up. Okay, let's go back to the Weather Channel. Felicia Combs with more on the storm. And Felicia, once again, once the sun goes down, that's when travel will go downhill very, very quickly here in the Front Range.
Oh, yeah, you definitely do not want to be out and about. So get whatever you need to be able to stay in. Mike, thanks so much. We'll check back in with you in a sec. Of course, Mike, on the cold side of the system and the warm side of the system, prompting scary moments like this in Shallow Water, Texas yesterday when a tornado tore through the area. You can see tons of debris swirling around. You can also see rotation in the clouds. There were also reports of 2-inch hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. New video now into the Weather Channel. The snow is starting to come down in Aurora, Colorado as Xylia starts to ramp up. You guys will remain under a winter storm warning through Sunday night. 8 to 12 inches of snow is possible through this evening. Yeah, that's a lot of snow in a little short period of time. It is a classic spring battle of winter and severe. Winter Storm Xylia putting about 7 million under winter alerts right now, including those of you in Denver. You could see 2 to 3 feet of snow stack up near the mountain range, the Front Range of the mountains and the foothills. To the south, a dangerous severe storm threat is taking shape, bagging the potential for large hail damaging winds and tornadoes. We do have a Torcon of 7 in place in the Texas Panhandle, and we've already started to see some severe storms as well. So let's break it down. Let's talk about what is going on right now. Where you're seeing these this yellow polygon, that is a severe thunderstorm warning. These storms moving pretty quickly now off to the northeast. With this, we could see wind gusts of 60 miles an hour and quarter-size hail. So we are seeing that large hail already starting to bubble up. A line of pretty potent storms just crossing in to Texas there along the I-40 corridor, and we're going to continue to see this filling in as we head through the afternoon. These storms are going to be strong in places like Amarillo, along that 40 corridor, along 27 as well. We've got that risk for long track tornadoes, which are those tornadoes that stay on the ground for a long time. But then it's going to become more of this linear segment like you're seeing as we head into the evening and overnight hours toward Childress, and as that moves into Oklahoma, and that is going to become more of a focused severe wind gust threat as well. So we've got the large hail threat, the wind, and the tornado threat today. You can see the area shaded in this dark purple here between 20 and 40, and then north up into the Oklahoma panhandle does have that high risk for hail. And we've got the snow currently falling all along the Front Range in Colorado, and that's going to continue to fill in. So we spoke with Mike just a few minutes ago, and Mike, we have started to see that snow come down where you are in Golden, and this is kind of just the beginning. We're going to see it ramping up as we head into tonight.
Yes, and also tonight, once it gets dark and those temperatures drop down just to and below freezing, many more impacts on these roadways, because right now we've got the sun angle and it's 33, 34. DIA was down to 32. I'll update and see what's going on there. But again, daylight really helps us out, especially as you get into March and April. The sun right now is as potent as it is in late September. So it gives you an idea how strong the sun is. We're getting a little bit of an accumulation here on the trash can. That is about it. Just a smidgen right now. That's about it. Also on the metal surfaces, starting to see a little accumulation on some of the plants out here. But that is about it because of the factors I just mentioned. Now tomorrow we're going to throw the wind into the equation, and we're going to have to think about at least some power outages. Fortunately, no foliage on the trees here at this point. So we roll through this afternoon, tonight into Sunday. Snow heavy at times, 1, potentially some spots 2 inches an hour, especially in the foothills. There's higher spots east of here, or rather west of here, where you got more of an upslope component, and that's where you can squeeze out more of this moisture. And then we have the wind issue. The snow will wind down by tomorrow evening. Look at the storm totals, generally around 1.5 feet in the Denver metro area. Higher totals will be in the foothills. Again, up there, up the incline above 7,000 feet, and this side of the Continental Divide, also up towards Casper, Cheyenne, out through Scottsbluff, Nebraska, where we've got those blizzard warnings flying in parts of Nebraska and also Wyoming. Down here in Denver, the snow winds down. Now, it's not going to be a big warm-up. Many times in the springtime, or at least late winter, we see temperatures really bounce back very quickly the next day. That's not going to be the case. We'll get melting on Monday. It'll get back up to about 40. Often the case, though, Carl, with a storm like this, we have the warm side and cold side. But the big picture you can see on the satellite, I'm looking at that, the big swirl and the comma shape as this storm and all this wind energy comes out of the southwest and heads northeast.
Yeah, really powerful storm, Mike. And I wanted to ask you before you go, you know, we've been looking at long-term concerns about water across the west. It's gotten really bad in Colorado in recent months. And so this is very good news that we're getting all this snow.
It is. In fact, the drought monitor, which updates every Thursday morning, I checked the latest one from this past Thursday, a couple days ago. 98.5% of the state of Colorado is in some stage of drought. That's categories D1 to D4. Now, if you take exceptional to extreme, D4, D3, D4, it's 55% of the state. So you've got half the state in the worst 2 drought categories. And the whole Southwest is in bad shape. So, boy, they really need this moisture because, as we often talk about, the snow, you kind of store it up. It's like a giant snow farm, and then it will melt in the springtime and summer and provide moisture. Also cuts down the fire dangers, you know, Carl. And drinking water, the whole gambit. So they are not complaining about the snow. It is falling on the weekend, and it is going to make tough travel, flying and driving tonight and tomorrow. But the benefits, I think, for a lot of folks, at least locals, far outweigh some of the negatives of trying to get around for a day or so.
Yeah, a very strong relationship between the snowpack and also the soil moisture as you get into those warmer, drier months. Mike, thank you so much. And let's take a look at the total amount of snow that we're expecting from the storm here. And this is going to be historic in some cases. There will be some stations there, especially in Wyoming and northern Colorado, that see one of the greatest snowfalls that they've ever seen. It's going to be 2 to 3 feet in some spots. And that is largely because the storm is just not going to move very much at all. It's really just kind of ambling along as it's separated from the main flow of the jet stream. You got cold air that is bleeding down across the northern plains, plenty of moisture being drawn up by the low as it comes into Texas, and then also we've got an upslope flow, and that's going to enhance that snowfall, as will the very strong winds aloft. And so a lot of things in place, and in place for a long period of time. So here we go through the afternoon. We'll go into this evening, 11 o'clock tonight, really coming down at this time, and the winds are going to be picking up as well. Then we'll go a full 12 hours forward into 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and I mean, it looks practically the same. Really hasn't changed that much at all. You've still got very heavy snowfall rates, still a lot of wind. Then we'll go into 11 o'clock or midnight, going into very early Monday morning, late Sunday. Snow is finally beginning to wind down at this time, but the wind is continuing, and then it will continue to sort of pull away and retract there into Monday. So a very long duration event. You're talking about a good 30 hours of snowfall in these areas, Felicia, and that is a big part of why we are talking about so much snow.
Yeah, you know, when you have any kind of snow falling for that amount of time, Carl, it is going to add up. But when we're talking moderate to heavy snow, it's really going to add up. New video now from Boulder, Colorado this morning. Temperatures near the freezing mark, but still warm enough to bring this rain-snow mix to the area. Those temperatures will be dropping through the day with everything changing over to snow. You could see anywhere between 6 to 10 inches of snow today. So let's talk about it. This is going to be a very impactful storm. In fact, for a place like Cheyenne, this could be it's looking like it should be, if the forecast verifies, the biggest snowstorm that you have ever seen. So what you're looking at here, at an initial glance, this might be a lot to digest, but let's break it down. So along the top, you have your winds, the direction and the speed, and then with each rising bar here, the snow rate, so light, moderate to heavy. And you'll notice, Cheyenne, you are stuck in that light to moderate snowfall until we get into the overnight hours tonight, and then we start to see things picking up overnight tonight and into Sunday morning. Those winds begin to pick up more than 30 miles an hour. We've got that northeasterly wind as well, and we've got heavy snowfall rates overnight tonight into very early Sunday morning. And then as we head into the later part of Sunday morning or early Sunday afternoon, we are seeing those winds pick up to 35 miles an hour or more, still with the moderate to heavy snowfall for many hours, and that is why we have that blizzard warning that's going into effect. It will likely verify because we do have those conditions that would meet that criteria for being defined as a blizzard. Now, the forecast around 30 inches here around Cheyenne, and then south of I-80 around Cheyenne about 2 feet, and of course in some of the mountainous areas you'll get some higher totals than that as well. This future radar is just showing you what I just showed you on that first graphic. It's showing you that once that snow starts, you guys are stuck in it pretty much all weekend, the rest of the day today, tonight through Sunday, and it's not until Monday that it does begin to pull away. Now, so far, the biggest snowstorm of all time in Cheyenne dropped just over 25.5 inches of snowfall back in 1979, and the forecast is right around the Cheyenne area for it to be around 30 inches. So that's why we're saying this could be the biggest snowstorm you've ever seen in Cheyenne. In terms of temperatures, we're staying below freezing. You can see those temperatures falling down into the teens and those very gusty winds. It is going to be cold. It is not going to be the type of weather you want to be out in at all. And in North Platte, you guys are going to see that transition from rain and windy conditions to windy conditions and a rain-snow mix until we finally become mostly snow. So this is the cold side of the system that's bringing that those threats, but also, Carl, we have the dangerous side of the system on the warm side with the severe storms.
Yeah, and that's really going to be stepping up over the next few hours, we think, and we had a lot of activity yesterday. Texas on alert once again, the very same part of the state. Here you see a tornado in the Lubbock area, a very narrow funnel there, and then you can just make out a little bit of what we call the dust envelope there, the dust that's churned up where that strong wind meets the ground. And parts of the Panhandle under a Torcon of 7, that is the first, the highest value that we have seen since April 19th of last year. So when we look at the satellite picture, we see this really, I want to take you very quickly in Oklahoma City, by the way, got some clouds around. The instability is not going to be as great here, so you're going to be in for some heavy rain and some thunder, maybe a little bit of wind, a little bit of hail later tonight, but the worst of it certainly farther west. Now, again, the satellite picture, just a really profound atmospheric disturbance. You can see this huge swirl in the atmosphere there. That is what is now coming out. And so with that, very strong winds aloft, a lot of lift in the atmosphere, all the things that are necessary to produce severe weather. And then we've got this warm and humid air coming up from the south. That's the available energy for these storms and you see it's getting a little more yellow there into the panhandle. So we're seeing more of that developing right now. And that is right where along the dry line we've got some severe thunderstorm warnings. A new one now west of 27. Ping pong ball size hail and damaging wind, the threat in Castro and Lamb counties. As that cell moves to the north, that could affect Dimmitt and areas along Route 365. Then Deaf Smith and Hartley and Oldham counties under warning until 2:45. And as you look at the satellite picture, you can see as these clouds are developing, notice that you're getting on that dark area underneath those cloud tops there. The clouds are growing a lot taller, so they're becoming more mature, more robust storms right now. And as they continue to get closer to 27, they're going to bring with them potential for very large hail, damaging wind, and tornadoes, and maybe some long track tornadoes. That's why there is a tornado watch in effect going until 6 o'clock tonight, up and down 27 and then along 40 as well. We do expect, by the way, that there will be another tornado watch issued farther east, and that's where we could be looking at some pretty serious activity developing later this afternoon. So here's the high resolution model. Notice that these storms really looking very intense, in some cases late this afternoon, and that'll continue into the early evening hours as well there in the eastern part of the Panhandle. We'll have much more on the severe threat and the winter weather coming up in a moment.
Again.
Currently in our area, 65 degrees under cloudy skies. Tonight, cloudy skies, slight chance of a rain shower, low 54, winds north-northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Sunday, cloudy, slight chance of a rain shower, high 73, winds east-northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Sunday night, cloudy, low 53, winds northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
We log at the top of the world, a mile high into the mountains. That's where some of the best logging is.
It's absolutely insane up here.
Careful, careful, careful. There's lots of things that can go wrong.
The mud just does not stop.
You can't stay on the road. You just hope you make it.
It's a battle against Mother Nature. It's not for everyone.
Let the fun begin.
Back out here in Colorado, Winter Storm Xylia, and we're out in the Front Range and all the way out now to northeast Colorado. You take 76, which is going to be a travel issue tonight into Sunday morning. This is Brush, Colorado, out in Morgan County. This is a tower cam. You can see the snow sticking on the surfaces, some of the surfaces. But again, the roads were fine, much like they are across most of the areas outside of the foothills and the mountains, because temperatures, and with daylight, temperatures generally are still running just above freezing. Back out here live in Golden, you can see the proof. It's just wet, like a rainy day. In fact, when we got down here, it was a little mixed rain and snow. Now it's all snow. Temperature running about 33 to 34 degrees. This is light snow, but we've had reports of heavy snow. Denver International, where they've already canceled nearly 2,000 flights between today and tomorrow. Also over at Buckley in Aurora, and up at Broomfield at Jeffco. That airport, too, has had some heavy snow. Temperatures there 33 last check. So we've got a big storm. It's going to really snow hard through this evening into Sunday morning at least. Again, the key is tonight we lose the daylight and the help from the March sun angle, and we have temperatures going just below freezing. So it is really going to start to cause problems even on untreated roads. Even on treated roads because of the snowfall rates. They pre-treated the roads out here. They don't mess around here in the Front Range. These are the professionals. So just kind of a hint of travel issues. Felicia, airline travel tomorrow. Well, the good thing is a lot of these flights have already been canceled, so people don't get out to the airport and find out their flight has been canceled. And an issue we had not many years ago wasn't so much the runways, it was the fact they couldn't get employees up Peña Boulevard to the airport. So we'll see how things shake out at DIA on Sunday.
Yeah, always best to check before you make your way there and then you're at the airport and you're frustrated. Mike, thanks so much. Of course, we'll check back in with you. Let's take a look at this now. More than 6 inches of snow creating dangerous conditions on the roads in Beaver, Utah yesterday. You can see a line of vehicles at a standstill on parts of I-15. The Utah Department of Transportation says there were multiple crashes and slide-offs. Just stay home during this winter storm if you can, and if not, you have to make sure you slow down. If you do have to be out for any reason, make sure you have those emergency supplies in your car as well. So let's talk about travel, because travel is going to be greatly impacted. Mike was just alluding to the air travel. Let's talk about the travel along some of these major thoroughfares that are going to be impacted. I-70, especially as you head through the mountainous terrain, I-80 and then I-25 here. A long stretch of these roads going to be impacted for a long period of time with heavy snow and dangerous driving conditions. Tonight, of course, the sun goes down, so the visibility is already getting reduced by that. But then the snow picks up, the winds increase, and that is going to create that blowing snow effect, which reduces visibility on top of the fact that it's going to be overnight. So you don't want to be out and about in this. Right now we have this nice plume of snowfall stretching from really south of Denver all the way up into Cheyenne. You guys are stuck in that snowfall. 76. You guys are going from the rain there in western Nebraska to the snow, and that is what is expected. Now tomorrow, this is going to be really the peak day, especially tomorrow morning across portions of southeastern Wyoming. We're talking about heavy snow and blizzard conditions. Those winds up to 40 miles an hour, gusting at times. Travel will be impossible across portions of the high plains and the Front Range as we move through your day on Sunday. So if you don't have everything that you need right now, I'd say get it and then make sure you can stay inside for the rest of the weekend, because you don't want to try to get out and about tomorrow. Carl, it's not just, you know, the fact that we are going to have some blowing snow here or there, but it is looking very likely that we will meet that criteria of it being officially a blizzard.
Yes, and for a very long time, too. That's what's amazing about this storm. There you see the blizzard warnings that are now in effect across southeastern parts of Wyoming as well as into western Nebraska. So a large area looking at that blizzard warning right now. So what does that mean exactly? Well, it is not about snow. It's about wind. You've got to have sustained winds or frequent gusts to 35+ miles per hour and visibility down to 1/4 of a mile or less. You can actually get that with snow that's just on the ground. So again, it's all about wind, not so much about the snow that's coming down. This has got to happen, by the way, for 3 hours or longer. That is the official criteria. So let's take a look at Cheyenne, for example. By tonight, winds gusting in the middle 20s, starting to get into the 30s, so we're getting close certainly. By tomorrow morning, wind sustained at about 30 miles per hour, so easily gusting into the mid-30s, and then beyond that, sustained winds in the mid-30s and around 40 miles per hour. And this is all going on for over 24 hours, so again, a very long duration event here and a dangerous one for that reason. Also, we've got the severe threat, Torcon of 7 for parts of the Texas Panhandle. This was yesterday in shallow water Texas. Could we see scenes like this again today? It's entirely possible. We'll talk more about it coming up. Welcome back. We have a brand new tornado watch to tell you about, issued by the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma. This is going until 9 o'clock tonight, and that for areas east of 27, just east of Amarillo, and just east of Lubbock as well. It's going until 9 o'clock Central Time. So we expect that this severe threat is going to continue well into the evening. Very powerful storm now coming out of the southwest and into the southern plains. Out ahead of that, along the dry line, we are starting starting to see storms firing right now and seeing some warnings as well. I've got a warning ongoing now for areas just south of Dimmitt. That's Castro County, and now a tornado possible tag. And I'm not surprised at all. I was just looking at this, and sure enough, as you look at the velocity data here, we are seeing a little bit of circulation. That area of red and the darker green right there, that is rotation being detected by the radar. And so there's a possibility of a tornado in addition to the threat for hail and wind. We're going to see a lot more in the way of rotating storms going through this afternoon. Also, Death, Smith, Hartley, and Oldham counties under warning until 2:45, and we're looking at a threat for damaging wind and hail here. So that is the previous tornado watch going until 6 o'clock tonight. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can sort of see the separation there. The one to the west, which is right in there, that going until 6 o'clock tonight, and then the brand new tornado watch to the east, that is going until 9 o'clock tonight. So we do expect that this threat is going to continue for some time. Now, let's take a look at high-resolution model forecast, and we expect that these cells are going to be very close to Amarillo going into the middle of the afternoon, and they could they're entirely capable of producing tornadoes at that time. So just be on your toes there in Amarillo, and down 27 and into Lubbock as well, as we could be looking at some very serious storms. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they're continuing to mature. We find some additional development going into 6 o'clock, and then a big linear convective system. And with a linear system like that, you tend to find more of a damaging wind threat and not quite as much of a tornado threat. We will still see a tornado threat, but it's going to begin to change from a tornado threat to more of a damaging wind threat as we get deeper into the evening. But still, there will be tornadoes, very large hail, and then everything will begin to settle down, we think, by very late tonight. So, Felicia, the next several hours in particular are going to be the critical time here in the Panhandle.
Yeah, definitely want to make sure you have some way to get those alerts and you're staying weather aware, but that is the warm side of the system. We've got to look at the cold side. Winter storm Xylia ramping up overnight tonight especially, and prompting tons of winter alerts, from winter storm warnings in the dark teal to winter weather advisories in the bright teal, and blizzard warnings there for portions of Wyoming and Nebraska. Here's what's going on. You can kind of see the general flow that we have going on. You are going to start to see more of an upslope flow tonight as we head into the overnight hours as well, and that is going to enhance those snowfall rates over the foothills. The winds are going to pick up, so we're going to see that visibility becoming more reduced. Right now in Denver, you have the flakes flying all down 25 into Colorado Springs as well, and then as you look out 70 toward Breckenridge and Vail, you guys are getting in on that falling snow. Lots of people made their ways to the ski resorts to be there for this snow. Hopefully you are wherever you're going, because conditions are going to continue to deteriorate. Could be seeing a little bit of icing going on maybe there around Cheyenne. That's what that pink represents. We are going to continue to see the snow piling up, especially once we get that first initial layer to lay down and stick. The ground is going to cool off, and that is going to allow that snow to accumulate. Now, Mike, earlier the temperatures were above freezing, and you really weren't seeing anything stick. But as we know, all it takes is a couple good snow bands to really put down that layer that finally sticks, and then it really starts adding up.
Yes, and we really haven't had that here in Golden. We do have some heavy snow at the airport right now. And I just checked the metro airports, Denver International, Buckley over in Aurora, and out in Broomfield, BJC, Broomfield, Jefferson County Airport. That's midway between Denver and also up towards the Boulder area. And all those airports now 32 degrees, so the temperature continues to come down a little bit. Meanwhile, you can see here on the roadway, it's just wet right now. It's snowing, but it's not snowing particularly hard. The visibility is still upwards of, oh yes, at least a mile, whereas Denver International is reporting a quarter-mile visibility. And as I've been saying over and over, flying has really been impacted. 750 plus flights today, tomorrow over 1,150 flights. So we've seen a lot of cancellations, and they did these ahead of time, which helps you out, because if you go out to the airport, you don't want to be sitting there for 5 hours. I know missing your flight because of a weather issue is not good, but it's better being at the home or at the airport or at the ski resort if you can stick around for another extra day. More on this storm, more on that tornado threat continues. Stay with the Weather Channel.
People were afraid I was.
The cabin we're staying at is a really nice place. You know, we bought all of our groceries. We're ready to stay in a few days if we need to.
An Iowa family ready to hunker down for quite the storm. Our own Charles Peak caught up with the McFarlands yesterday at Rocky Mountain National Park, where the kids got a ski lesson from Dad. The snow that winter storm Xylia will bring will be a ski lover's dream, but a travel nightmare if you're on the road. So let's get to your travel forecast. Travel nightmare if you're trying to fly in that area as well, too. Let's take a look at some of the major interstates that will be dealing with these impacts, especially tomorrow. The peak of this, really when the heavy snow, the gusty winds are going to be really ramping up late tonight, but especially early Sunday across southeastern Wyoming. That 80 corridor is going to be impossible to travel at times, and especially the untreated roads are going to be even worse. Heavy snow and blizzard conditions are expected. So we do have this blizzard warning that's going into effect tonight into tomorrow. You can see everywhere shaded in pink, so from Alliance to Scottsbluff, Wheatland, Rollins, Laramie, Cheyenne, you're all included in that. And that is going to be that gusty wind. That's going to be the heavy snow coming down. Of course, that could cause some power outages as well. And as mentioned, we've had our own airport impacts today, but we're expecting those impacts to continue tomorrow as well. Well, according to the CDC, about 1,300 people die per year from extreme cold exposure, but these deaths can be prevented. Earlier, survival expert Creek Stewart shared some advice on AMHQ Weekend about what to do if you get stranded in the snow.
The last thing you want to do is actually leave your vehicle. And in fact, the only time you would ever want to leave your vehicle is if you spotted, if you were able to see a business or a home or a destination that you could absolutely reach. If you don't see that, you stay inside of your vehicle. So we've all heard of things to keep inside of an emergency kit, like socks or maybe a warm wool blanket. But let's talk about a couple of things that could make a huge difference that maybe you haven't heard of. One of them is a little inexpensive Mylar emergency blanket and a roll of duct tape. Believe it or not, whether it's in a vehicle or in a home, up to 40% of the heat loss can happen through the windows. So we could take this reflective emergency blanket and tape it on the windows. I'm inside of my car right now. I've used duct tape. I've taped that emergency blanket to cover up those windows. What that's going to do is that's going to reflect heat back into the vehicle, but it's also going to create a layer of dead airspace in between the blanket and the window, which is going to further prevent heat loss from the vehicle. So this can actually help retain up to 55% of the heat inside of the vehicle.
Should people be starting up the car and running the heat maybe periodically? What should they do there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Conserving gas is an issue, of course, if you are out there for an extended period of time. You want to make sure that the snow is cleared around your vehicle. You want to make sure that your exhaust is clear if you're in deep snow, because you don't want to trap carbon monoxide underneath of the vehicle, which could seep into the vehicle and cause an entirely different problem altogether. But one thing that a lot of people may not consider packing inside of their vehicle emergency kit are these little hand warmers. These are fantastic little warmers. I bought this bag of 20 for about $9. They don't have an expiration. They'll last for months and months and years. You can just throw them in a pocket in your car or in your trunk. And if you're ever trapped inside of your vehicle and you lose and you're running out of gas, these make perfect little backup heaters. You could take some duct tape and you could tape these onto the inside, like of your t-shirt or inside underneath of your jacket.
Those are great.
You can catch Creek tomorrow on Could You Survive with Creek Stewart at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 Central, right here on the Weather Channel. Carl?
Well, we're going to get some wintry weather in the Midwest out of this system as it continues off to the east. Not going to be a whole lot, but there will be some. And there are now winter storm watches in southern Minnesota as well as into northern Iowa and right along that 35 corridor. That's where we're looking for about 5 to 8 inches of snow. A little bit of snow in the Twin Cities, a little bit in Chicago. It's going to be a mix there in Chicago. You notice that we start out with rain here coming through. And, you know, this didn't work last hour and it's not working again. again, unfortunately, but we'll try to get that fixed for you. And we expect that the snow is going to be developing going into Monday morning there in the Twin Cities. Same story in Des Moines, and it's going to be freezing rain on Monday morning in Chicago. So about 1 to 2 to 3 inches across the Twin Cities, a little more as you get on the south side in Des Moines. Very strong gradient between the south side and the north side. 2 to 3 inches of snow there in Des Moines on the north side. I'm going to switch gears very quickly here, and we're going to take you out into West Texas and tell you about a brand new tornado warning that has just popped up in the northwest part of the state. That is Dallam and Hartley and Moore counties now under warning until 3:15, and this cell is now rapidly moving to the northeast, moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. Let's take a look at the velocity data, and we're seeing a pretty strong rotation showing up near Hartley right now. That area of sort of brighter yellow and green is where the rotation is, and that is now again rapidly moving northeast. That'll be coming towards Exum as it moves northeast at 55 miles per hour. We'll have more on this evolving severe weather threat coming up in just a moment.
If Physicians Mutual were a
Currently in our area, 65 degrees under cloudy skies. Tonight, cloudy skies, slight chance of a rain shower, low 54, winds north-northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Sunday, cloudy, slight chance of a rain shower, high 73, winds east-northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Sunday night, cloudy, low 53, winds northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Welcome back. We are following a severe weather threat in West Texas. I want to tell you about a new tornado warning. Dallam, Hartley, and Moore counties under warning until 3:15, and this cell now moving to the northeast at 55 miles per hour. Seeing a broad area of rotation right now, and that's that area of sort of red and green color, or reddish orange and green color right in there. That is where the circulation is. That is now about ready to cross Route 385, moving to the northeast very rapidly, about 55 miles per hour, and you can see no towns showing up in the tracker there, so this is a relatively rural area. It looks like it's going to pass just to the south of Hartley, and then we got a brand new scan just now. So once again, taking a look at this, this is really close to Hartley, but it looks like it's passing just to the south. And actually, I'm going to slide this back a little bit because that motion appears to be maybe a little more north-northeast as opposed to straight northeast. So if we adjust that slightly based on the last couple of scans, that could take this storm towards Exum and perhaps Eder as well. So heads up, possible tornado coming your way, and that coming towards Route 287, now just north of 87. Also want to tell you about the extension of the tornado watch. There had been a tornado watch along 27 there, that going until 6 o'clock this evening. Another one has been issued, that going until 9 o'clock this evening, and that for the eastern part of the Texas Panhandle. So really vigorous storm now coming from the southwest out into the plains, and really significant severe weather threat along with this. There you see the available energy, and that's really starting to beef up now in the Texas Panhandle, in particular those yellow colors indicating where we've got a lot of instability to support severe storms. Again, that tornado warning in effect, just south of Hartley and coming towards Route 287. Then to the south of that, got a severe thunderstorm warning for Death Smith and Oldham counties. Watch out for some hail and wind in Vega. And then south of that, there's a warning now for Castro and Swisher counties, and a tornado possible tag in this threat for damaging wind and hail. That is generally coming towards Route 87 as well. So here's a high-resolution model forecast, and I want you to notice how the model shows us a whole series of supercells continuing to mature over the next couple of hours here. So these cells are going to be entirely capable of producing tornadoes. Again, we see discrete supercells going into 5 o'clock this evening, just east of Amarillo and on either side of Interstate 40. Then into 6 o'clock tonight, starting to see a little bit more of these cells joining together, becoming more of a linear convective system. And when that happens, that brings down the tornado threat some, and we start to see more of a damaging wind threat. It's going to continue to evolve that way as we get deeper into the evening, and then eventually a lot of this weather is going to run away from the deepest instability. So we do not expect that there's going to be a real big threat in Oklahoma City tonight. Could be some heavy rain and certainly some wind, but it's mostly going to be areas further to the west. We'll have much more of this coming up in a few minutes. Felicia, over to you.
Thanks so much, Carl. Of course, all of that's going to keep moving eastward, so we have to watch for the potential of that severe weather on Sunday as well. So let's take a look at it. We've got that threat for the severe weather for Sunday for places like Little Rock and Memphis. You guys are going to be in the bullseye for some feisty storms. We do have torcons of 3 in parts of eastern Arkansas, western Mississippi, and the southwest corner of Tennessee. That does include Memphis. So let's talk about it, guys, because, you know, we're talking a lot about the torcon of 7 that we have over the Texas Panhandle today, which of course is its own dangerous situation. But even a torcon of 2 to 3 is not something that you want to just kind of blow off, because that is still the chance for an isolated tornado, and all it takes is one tornado moving through a populated area and it becomes dangerous very quickly. So cities like Little Rock and Memphis, you really want to be aware of this. Let's time it out for you, starting you out tomorrow morning, maybe a few showers around here or there, but then watch how this moves in from the west to the east. Now, right now, the models are not showing it quite as impressively as maybe some of the storms we're seeing today, but still we have that chance for an isolated tornado, especially with some of the heating of the day tomorrow. Not just that, but damaging wind gusts as well. We could see some severe level wind gusts, which would be right around 60 miles an hour. This is what we're looking at through the middle part of the week. We've got another shot of wintry precip for the north, but some severe storms to the south from the upper Mississippi Valley really down through the Tennessee Valley. We're getting that to the Gulf Coast. By Wednesday, we do have another risk of severe storms. You can see that here from Paducah stretching all the way down to the Gulf Coast. Of course, we've got on the cold side, Aaron Mike Seidel in Colorado. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Felicia, don't let this be misleading. What you see out here, wet roads, it's bright. I mean, it is really bright out here. I saw the sun briefly bleeding through. This is all going to change once the sun goes down, temperatures fall to and below freezing, and the snow intensity ramps up through tomorrow. More on how much falls next.
And after which, it's literally like fireworks in your mouth.
Good afternoon from Golden, Colorado. This is Parker, Colorado. This is southeast of Denver by about 30 minutes. And you can see the snow is now sticking to the ground and the trees. The roads are still fine, but don't be fooled. This is a big storm, Xylia, a late winter storm, which is going to dump 1 to 2 feet of snow in the Front Range, even more in the foothills up through parts of Wyoming and Nebraska, where we have some areas under blizzard warnings. The winter storm warning here in Denver across the Front Range goes right now until 6 a.m. on Monday morning. Welcome back to Golden. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel. Very bright afternoon, high March sun angle. Snowfall intensity not that impressive right now here, although we've had some heavier snow reports at the area airports. So as a result, the roadways are fine, just wet, much like a cold, rainy day. And when we started here a few hours ago, it was some rain and snow mix. We had some heavier snow in the past hour, but it's now lightened up. The radar shows that it's not a solid shield of snow at this point, but things will be certainly ramping up, filling in as we go into the latter part of this afternoon, tonight and Sunday. Now, the worst travel by far will be after sundown this evening through Sunday morning, because we're not going to have the daylight, the sun angle, and the energy coming through. You know, we're just days away from the first day of spring. Sun angle right now, by the way, is the same as it is in late September. Also, temperatures tonight in the Front Range will drop down to at or just below freezing, and that is really going to cause problems. Other problems right now, 2 new tornado warnings. Let's go back and get the latest from Carl Parker in Atlanta.
Mike, thank you so much. And we are now looking in the Texas Panhandle. That's where we've got this severe weather. Castro and Swisher counties under warning for a possible tornado until 3:15. Let's take a look at the velocity data. And the area that we're looking at is that brighter sort of blue color and then the darker color right there. That is now just southwest of Nazareth. So if you're in Nazareth, please get to your safe place right now. Possible tornado coming your way. Look and see if there's any evidence of debris at this time. Not seeing anything that is co-located with that, but we are definitely seeing some circulation that is now just southwest of Nazareth. So a possible tornado now just moments away. These are really moving rapidly, these storms, about 50 miles per hour to the north and northeast. Let's take a look at where it might be going beyond that, taking that forward, coming towards Nazareth again right now, and then perhaps towards Arnie, though it looks like it's most likely going to be a little farther to the east. Now, there's another tornado warning to tell you about, and that is to the north of that. That is Dallam and Hartley and Moore counties under warning. Here we are seeing some circulation. Looks like it might be what we call gusting out at this time, but we are seeing a little bit of rotation now showing up near Hartley, right in there. And so just taking that forward very quickly, I'll show you where this is headed. It's going to be coming generally towards Cactus as it continues to move up towards 287. We'll have more on this in just a few minutes. Felicia, over to you.
Thanks so much, Carl. Let's head to the cold side now. New video out of Denver where Xylia has already started to dump a wintry mix there. Conditions are expected to worsen as the day goes on. Snow could be heavy and blowing at times, making travel really dangerous. Denver's mayor says more than 60 plows have been deployed to clear roads, so please stay home if you can and give them plenty of room. You've had lots of notice. We've been talking about this system, this storm for quite some time at this point, so I hope you got your snacks. I hope you got all your supplies and you're ready to just hang out inside, especially for the places under winter storm warnings, but particularly where we have these blizzard warnings going into effect tonight into Sunday morning. It is going to be nearly impossible to travel in that area later tonight, tomorrow morning. So keep that in mind and do be careful. Little bit of dry air building in around the metro area right now, but that's going to fill back in as we head through the afternoon. So you're getting a little bit of a break there, especially on the south side of Denver around Castle Rock, but you're going to continue to kind of have waves of this wintry precip moving through. Right now you're stuck in it in Cheyenne. Wheatland, you guys are kind of on that rain snow line, but that will eventually kind of cross over to being just all snow there. You can see the characteristic circulation here. We're getting some of that upslope flow going, and as these winds take on more of an easterly component, you're really going to see that upslope flow enhancement of this snowfall coming down around the foothills. The foothills are going to get hammered, and we've got to send someone there if we've got this kind of weather that's going to be happening. Mike, you are out in it, and we are seeing those flakes flying. Nothing adding up just yet, but it's coming.
No, the only adding up here in downtown Golden is over here on the trash can. Little snow on the ground, but maybe, we may have a ½ an inch. But again, other than that, it's all melting because the ground has been warm, the streets have been warm, and the temperatures are still at or just above freezing. Now, the airports are reporting 32, but when you get into this bright daylight and the radiation coming through the clouds here just before the first day of spring, that's really helping out things on the roadways, at least down here in the Front Range, unless it's snowing really, really hard, and it has done that at times in spots. But as we time it out for you, snow will be moderate to heavy at times right into at least midday Sunday. Snowfall rates 1 to 2 inches an hour. It's going to wind down later Sunday afternoon. By Sunday night, it's done. But our snowfall totals are going to be anywhere from a foot to 18 inches. We could see as much as 20 inches in Denver, and then in the foothills where you have more upslope and it's colder, and then up towards Casper and Cheyenne where it's already below freezing, easily 2 or 3 feet of snow. And then we have the wind component coming into play on Sunday and Sunday night as the storm cranks up and heads out of the way. So it's a long duration event. This is not an 8 to 10 hour snowstorm. This sticks around for a while. Fortunately, on Monday, it will get back up close to 40, but we're not going to have a big change in temperature. We often see that in the fall, and as we get into the springtime, the day before and the day after, temperatures can just swing wildly here in the Front Range. But Monday and Tuesday back in the 40s, so there will be melting, and that will help out the road situation. But travel strongly discouraged tonight and Sunday morning during the area, the time, the window when it's dark. That's going to be when we have the worst impacts. But the plows are out. We've got over 100 plows up and down the streets in Denver, and they pre-treated the roads before the storm started. So, Felicia, we're going to see how this all shakes out. But right now, the daylight and the time of the year is a big positive factor. And another positive factor is the state. 98.5% of the state is in some stage of drought, so the moisture is very, very beneficial.
Yeah, I definitely need that precipitation across portions of the Rockies. And of course, as we know, we are going to get quite a bit of it. This could be the biggest snowstorm you've ever seen in Cheyenne. So let's break it down for you. I want to take it kind of through the day part, piece by piece. Now, initially looking at this might be kind of a lot to wrap your brain around. So let's break it down very quickly what you're looking at. These are the wind speeds and the directions through Monday morning. And this is the snowfall rate. So as it goes up in color, we go from light to moderate to heavy in these bars. So the taller bars represent heavier snow. We're in moderate to heavy snow as we head through the rest of the day today. Into tonight, we are stuck in heavy snow for hours overnight tonight into very early Sunday morning. Now, even without wind at 29-30 miles an hour, that would cause a reduction in visibility, but especially with that wind, you're going to have a reduction in visibility. And then heading through the day on Sunday, late Sunday morning, early afternoon, you start to see these winds picking up 40 miles an hour, and that is going to be where we're entering into maybe the possibility for some blizzard criteria. And we're still seeing light snow even as we head into late Sunday night, early Monday morning. So this is what we're expecting in terms of totals, around 2 feet. You can see here maybe up to 28 inches, and that would break the old record for the biggest snowstorm that we've seen in Cheyenne. This future radar is kind of just depicting what I just showed you on that bar graph. It's that the snow gets started and then it just keeps coming. You guys are spending your entire weekend doused in this snow in the Cheyenne area. Now, will there be pockets of breaks here or there? Yeah, there might be, but in general, you're looking at that snow falling for pretty much the entire weekend. Here is that past record that I was talking about, 25.6 inches. That's the biggest snowstorm that you've seen in Cheyenne, and we certainly could beat that by a couple inches if the current forecast verifies. So here's what we're looking at: that snow and wind, temperatures down in the teens Sunday night, Saturday night and Sunday night. So it's going to be a cold one as well. For a place like North Platte, you're going to start out with some of the rain, the gusty wind sticking around though, but eventually you're going to mix some of that snow in there for you guys as well. Quick look at in terms of totals, you can see a very sharp gradient here. Actually in North Platte, we're just looking at maybe an inch, if that, but as you look farther north and west up toward Thetford, you could see double-digit inches of snow. So it's going to be about the haves and the have-nots, and who has it is going to have a lot. Another issue that we're having with this system, Carl, is the severe threat as you look south.
Yeah, the radar is really starting to light up right now, and there are several tornado warnings to tell you about. These are west of 27, also well northwest of Amarillo. And here, first of all, Castro and Hale and Swisher counties under warning until 3:30. The motion here is northeast at 40 miles per hour. So that little notch is where the tornado likes to sit. It's not quite as well defined right now, and I'm not seeing any towns showing up. So it looks like this is a relatively rural area where this is headed. But you know, you go back a couple of scans here and you can see there was a little more definition to that little notch there, and it's not quite as pronounced now. So hopefully a little less of a tornado threat in that case. Now, to the north of that, another tornado warning for Castro and Swisher counties until 3:15 Central Time. Here too, I don't think we're looking at as much of a threat. You go back a few frames and you can see right in there in particular pretty strong circulation just south of Route 86, and that has since now washed out, and just seeing a much broader circulation at this time. Then to the north of that, we've got another warning for Dallam and Hartley and more counties until 3:15, and here we're seeing a sort of a broad area of damaging wind, but then within that there's actually still some lingering circulation now moving northeast. So tracking that forward, that coming towards Exum here in just the next few minutes. So be aware of that possible tornado coming your way in Exum, but certainly a damaging wind threat in addition to that. So looking at the watches right now, there is a new tornado watch in effect in the eastern part of the Panhandle. That's going until 9 o'clock tonight. The one to the west of that going until 6 o'clock tonight. This area is going to remain very active for some time to come. We're looking at a really powerful storm now coming out of the southwest and out into the middle of the country. And so with that, a lot of lift in the atmosphere and very strong winds at several levels of the atmosphere. And so all of that setting the stage for this severe weather. By the way, a new severe warning well off to the south there. But look at all the available energy. That's low-level warm and humid air, but also the temperature profile as you go up through the atmosphere. So that is what is setting the stage for this severe weather. And as we look at the model forecast, we expect to see more of these discrete supercell storms through the next couple of hours here. Look at that 5 o'clock, just monstrous supercells in these areas. And we could be looking at some long track tornadoes. We could be talking about tornadoes that are on the ground for a while. So just really be on your toes if you live in this area. Then later tonight, we start to see more of a linear convective system. So there's still going to be a tornado threat, but we're also going to see more and more of a damaging wind threat. And the deeper we get into the evening, it's going to morph from less of a tornado threat to more of a damaging wind threat. And by the time all this activity makes its way towards Oklahoma City, the threat should really be coming down. So it's really primarily about the Panhandle. That is where the worst of it is going to be today. So here's a look at the Torcon today, 7 out of 10, and that is along 40 east of Amarillo, and then 5 out of 10, and that is to the east of Lubbock and west of Wichita Falls. Felicia, over to you.
Thanks so much, Carl. And of course, with that, you want to be prepared. The emergency alerts on your phone could be the only thing that stands between you and serious injury when severe weather hits. Meteorologist Paul Goodlow walks you through the steps to safety.
We're not always by our TVs and radios when severe weather strikes, but chances are we do have our mobile phones with us. The emergency alert features found on most smartphones can be a lifesaver during severe weather. Here's how to make sure yours are enabled. On the iPhone, simply go to Settings, click Notifications, and scroll down to the bottom. Make sure the emergency alerts and public safety alerts are toggled to the green on position. For many Android phones, look in your message settings for the word Alerts, and you can choose which ones you want to enable from there. Some alerts can be in other locations on Android phones, so just search for the words Emergency Alerts. Fortunately, these smartphone alerts will work in any town you are in and will warn you of any possible dangerous weather heading your way.
And a lot of people will be dealing with that dangerous weather. Another look at our Torcon, our Tornado Condition Index. On a scale of 10, we have 7s, we have 5s, we have 2s and 3s. And this purple shading, that 7 there south of Pampa, Childress included in that, just to the east of Amarillo. With that, you are looking at a likelihood of tornadoes, and we've already had several tornado warnings lighting up the radar at this point, starting to encroach on that 40 corridor south of Amarillo. 27, this line will be crossing over pretty soon. You can see we've had severe thunderstorm warnings, tornado warnings, and we are going to continue to see this expanding as we head through the next several hours of your afternoon. So these discrete cells that you see, when the future radar is predicting these little white blips that you see within these cells, that is a good indication that it's predicting some very strong storms moving along that I-40 corridor. Now, what ends up happening is this becomes more of a line segment, and with that, we still have the tornado risk, but the risk for damaging winds goes up even more as well. We could have some 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts, some very large damaging hail as well. We've already had warnings with the possibility for ping pong ball size hail included for portions of Texas today. So it is verifying already, and it's going to continue as we head through the afternoon. Mike.
Hey, good afternoon once again from Golden, Colorado, where the snow is picking up a little bit more. But again, it's still very bright. The sun angle this time of the year. Temperatures are right at or just above freezing. So the roads right now are just wet. This is all going to change once it gets dark. Temperatures fall back a few degrees and the snow intensity increases. We'll have more on how much falls coming up next here on the Weather Channel.
Special delivery. So call right now.
Currently in our area, 67 degrees under cloudy skies. Tonight, cloudy skies, slight chance of a rain shower, low 54, winds north-northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Sunday, cloudy, slight chance of a rain shower. High 73. Winds east-northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Sunday night, cloudy, low 53. Winds northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
We log at the top of the world, a mile high into the mountains. That's where some of the best logging is.
It's absolutely insane up here.
Careful, careful, careful. There's lots of things that can go wrong.
The mud just does not stop.
You can't stay on the road. You just hope you make it.
It's a battle against Mother Nature. It's not for everyone.
Let the fun begin.
Welcome back. We are following severe weather right now in northwest Texas and a couple of tornado warnings to tell you about. One of those west of 27, and that is Castro and Hale and Swisher counties under warning until 3:30. This is moving northeast at about 40 miles per hour. So we're looking at that little notch right there, and we'll take that forward. That coming into Hillburn right now, so please get to your safe place right now in Hillburn. You are in what we call the bear's cage there, that little notch, and that is where that possible tornado is sitting. It's actually looking like just past Hillburn. That's a brand new scan. These scans coming in every 5 minutes, and so just a little to the north there. It doesn't appear that there are any towns downstream, at least for the time being. Now, farther north, another tornado warning for Castro and Swisher counties until 3:30. Here I'm not seeing as much evidence of rotation, sort of a broad area right in there. So we can track that forward just to be on the safe side, but it's looking like less of a tornado threat right now. That coming up in areas just west of Happy and towards 27. But heads up in Amarillo as well as in Lubbock, as there's a lot going on now just west of that 27 corridor. I want to get out to Mike Seidel. He's reporting on the wintry side of this storm. And Mike, it's going to be a headache certainly for a lot of folks, but we have needed the water for a long, long time.
Nobody's complaining about the lack of snowfall. You know, we need the moisture, and we're going to get a lot of snow here, especially in the foothills. And this is going to put a bit of a dent in the drought. But, you know, we got a long way to go. You've got 98.5% of the state in some stage of drought, and more than half the state in exceptional or extreme, the two worst categories. With that said, we've got snow coming down, a very bright mid-March afternoon. The roads are fine. This is basically what you've got across all of the Front Range and out into the high plains, because the temperatures for the most part are 32 to 34 degrees, and we've got the daylight. Now, where we've had some heavier snowfall, we have had some slushy accumulations, but right now it's light snow here in Golden, and it's been on and off around the Denver metro area, checking all the airports, light, moderate, or heavy at times. But the airports last checked, most of them are right at freezing. The difference is going to be once the sun goes down tonight, the snow intensity continues to be moderate to heavy, and that's going to make a big difference. And temperatures fall down to 29 or 30 degrees. That's when the travel is really, really going to be tough through at least mid to late morning tomorrow, Felicia. Once we get, again, the sun up tomorrow, and temperatures eventually will creep up above freezing. But lots of headaches, and a lot of interstate travel will be affected.
Oh, definitely. Not just affected, but in some places it's going to be impossible. Thanks so much, Mike. Let's break it down for you in case you were planning on doing some sort of interstate traveling. I know a lot of people wanted to get out and be in some of those areas where you can go skiing with the snow, but you've got to be really, really careful. In fact, I'd say if you're not where you're trying to go, you probably should just stay home at this point. This evening, the snow is going to continue picking up, and the winds are also going to increase. So that 70 corridor, that 80 corridor, up and down 25 along the Front Range, going to be a rough go of it. Now, right now we've got a little pocket of dry air over Denver. We're going to continue to see that filling in, though, as the atmosphere saturates. But we have that snow falling very heavily along 25 north of Denver through Cheyenne. That's going to fill in across the higher elevations as well. The foothills really going to end up with quite a bit of impactful snowfall out of this, especially because we're going to switch to more of an upslope type of flow regime, and that helps to squeeze out all of that snow. So by tomorrow, especially tomorrow morning for places like Cheyenne, you're going to have that heavy snow and you're going to have that wind that's going to be very gusty. That's going to take visibility down to around really 0 at times, and that's why we have this blizzard warning. Laramie up into Rollins included in that Scottsbluff Alliance that's stretching up to Custer as well. So some dangerous situations here on the cold side of the system, but it's also turning out to be a dangerous afternoon on the warm side where we're seeing those tornado warnings ramp up. Carl.
Yeah, we want to get you up to date on the tornado warnings right now, and one of those now right across Interstate 27, actually a couple of different warnings. Castro and Swisher continues to be under warning, and then there is a downstream warning, and that now is for Randall County, and we are seeing evidence of a tornado in the radar right in there. If you see that little pinpoint right there, that is what we call a tornado vortex signature. That is a really strong indication of a tornado. Not seeing any debris associated with that right now, but a very tight little pinpoint there indicating a likely tornado, and this is now moving northeast about 40 miles per hour. So that is going to come up towards Ogg here and across Route 87 and eventually across Interstate 27 as well. So heads up, tornado most likely in progress right now and moving towards 87 and 27. And then also want to tell you about another storm to the south, ongoing tornado warning in effect for Castro and Hale and Swisher counties. We'll have much more on this coming up in a few minutes.
Shingles. Oh, dear.
Welcome back to our ongoing coverage of a severe threat that is now evolving here in northwest Texas. I want to show you, first of all, tornado warning for Castro and Swisher counties, and then a downstream warning across Interstate 27 for Randall counties. This cell is moving northeast at 40 miles per hour. That little pinpoint right there is what we call a tornado vortex signature. That is a tornado, and in fact, we got word from some chasers in the area that they did see a tornado on the ground. So that is moving northeast now and towards Ogg. I'm going to move this back just a couple of frames, and so yeah, it looks like that's basically towards the northeast right now and coming towards Ogg. I'm not seeing any evidence of debris right now, but again, we did just hear from some chasers that there is a tornado there. It looks like we finally got a brand new scan, so let me erase that. Oh wow, this is even more pronounced than it was moments ago. So that's a very strong rotation there. That is a tornado that is currently ongoing, and that is now just southwest of Route 87. And so let's go ahead and track this out one more time. Again, I'm going to dial this back just to get a sense of the vector, and it's pretty much northeast. And so taking that forward, that is now coming towards Ogg. So please, folks, time to get to your safe place right now there in Ogg, as you've got a likely tornado and a strong one now coming your way. That circulation right there, that area of sort of brighter blue and also green along with the deeper red, that is a strong circulation that is now coming your way, and it's going to be there in just a matter of moments. You've got very little time. It's now 3:30, and you've got about 5 minutes before that moves in there in Ogg. So lowest, most interior room, as many walls between you and the outside as is possible. If you've got a helmet, like a bike helmet, that's a great idea. But you've got, again, very little time to get inside before this thing moves in. That is almost certainly a tornado on the ground right now. Very strong signature now showing up. Let's also circle this and see if we're getting any debris right now. Not seeing any debris right now, but that doesn't always tell us what's going on, because sometimes there's just not a lot of debris to be brought up in the air. If it's out in a field somewhere, we may not have a whole lot of really sizable debris, but that is a really strong circulation showing up on the radar right now. Again, getting ready to cross 87, and it looks like taking aim on Ogg. Now, I'm not sure. In a moment, I'll be able to check and see how many people live in that town, but that is coming coming right towards Og right now. So please, folks, get to your safe place right now, as you've got a likely tornado and what appears to be a very strong one now coming your way. Now let's go farther south. One of these tornado warnings has been dropped, and another one has taken its place. That is Castro and Swisher counties under warning right now until 4 p.m. And here we're seeing, some evidence of rotation. It's not what I would call profound. It's a broader one. I mean, you can just, visually, that's the one we were looking at just a moment ago. That's clearly a tornado. This one is much broader. It's a very broad circulation, but nonetheless, there is a threat here. So as we take that forward, that's going to come up towards Kafir as it moves up in towards that I-27 corridor. But certainly the much greater threat is with this storm that is now passing just west of Happy, and again, it's coming towards Og as we speak, about ready to come up and across that Route 87 corridor. So please, folks, get to your safe place right now. Looking at the model forecast going forward, we expect that there's going to be more of these supercell storms right along this area of near 27 and 40 going through late afternoon, and so we expect that there's going to be quite a bit of activity in this region over the next couple of hours. So please, please be on your toes here. All right, let's get back out to Felicia.
Thanks so much, Carl.
Yep.
And a different type of danger as you look north. We have a dangerous winter situation that will be setting up. We'll have blizzard warnings taking effect tonight across portions of the high plains. Here's what's going on. Feet of snow for portions of northern Colorado, across southeastern portions of Wyoming there as well. Here's our system. We're dropping that winter precip across northern Colorado quite a bit right now. Cheyenne, you guys are getting into that. Some of the foothills are going to get absolutely hammered here along the urban corridor. A little bit of dry air has built in, and that's why you're seeing a bit of a break, but it is going to fill back in. Castle Rock, you've got some flakes flying, and you can see Winter Park, Boulder, you guys are stuck in the snow currently. Here's what it looks like as we look up into southeastern Wyoming from Fort Collins north along that 25 corridor to Cheyenne, even 25 to Wheatland. That's going to be a rough go of it. Travel is going to be really, really rough, especially tonight into tomorrow morning, so you want to be really careful. Here's a look at those alerts that we have, winter storm warnings, blizzard warnings as well. We're going to talk more about this and what you can expect throughout the weekend. That's coming up.
Losing a tooth didn't stop.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to the Front Range of Colorado. This is Broomfield, Colorado, which is midway between Denver and Boulder. And just checking the airport there, Jeffco, and it's 32 with heavy snow. Now that ob was 45 minutes ago, so it's a little dated, but you can see the snow coming down there in the video, and it's sticking, but not to the roads. Not to the roads, not yet. Once the sun goes down and our temperatures drop to and below freezing, even more below freezing, 29 to 30, that is really going to start to cause problems on the roadways. The real factor right now is that we have this high sun angle in March. We're just a few days away from the first day of spring, and so our sun right now is as powerful as it is in late September. Here on the roadways, it's just wet. That's basically the story. Now, where we've had some heavier snow bands, there's been some slushing up on anything that's untreated, but they were out ahead of this. They pre-treated the roadways here in the Front Range. So we time it out for you. Snow expected to be moderate to heavy at times into Sunday. Snowfall rates an inch, maybe more per hour. Highest totals will be in the foothills where you have more upslope. That's again up towards Evergreen into the ski resorts on this side of the divide, not on the other side. And we're looking up there for 2, maybe 3 feet of snowfall. Temperatures up there have been below freezing all day. So we've got that going for us as far as helping out the drought situation. Boy, the moisture is needed. Now, tomorrow we throw in the wind component, and that's going to mean wind gusts 35, potentially 40 miles an hour here in Denver. Even higher gust forecast up towards Cheyenne and out towards North Platte and Scottsbluff, Nebraska, those areas where we have some blizzard warnings up because of those stronger wind gusts. The snow consistency will dictate how much blowing and drifting we get. The other thing, though, with the wind is we're going to be concerned about power outages. We do not expect widespread power outages, but the heavier wet snow will stick to the tree limbs and the power lines. But another thing going for us right now here in Denver and this area is it's still early in the season and there is no foliage, no leaves on the trees. That's always a big problem when we get an early season snowstorm in September or October. So it's going to be a long duration event. It's not going to be bitterly cold. But again, on Monday, temperatures will not warm up dramatically. We often see that in the springtime, or at least in March and April, and even in the fall. So we're going to see highs the first part of the week in the 40s, 40, 45 degrees. That'll help out the road situation. But the worst travel by far will be tonight, once the sun goes down through Sunday morning, when we lose the daylight. Tomorrow, daylight again will be a positive factor, Felicia, in getting these roads to a situation where they're going to be drivable, at least the major interstates.
Let's break it down, because that is going to be one of our big issues. Thanks so much, Mike. We are going to have travel that's going to be basically impossible in some places tomorrow morning. That is coming from a lot of people saying that. Authorities, the National Weather Service saying impossible travel along portions of that Interstate 80 corridor, especially for some of those smaller roads. What's going to happen is the snow is going to come down, and we're also going to have those winds picking up, and that is going to leave us with greatly reduced visibility. So the blizzard warning, Cheyenne, Scottsbluff, Alliance, this is up into Custer, so portions of southwestern South Dakota as well. Lusk getting in on that, and it's not just the roadways that you have to worry about. Also, we have already seen many airports impacted from the weather today, but that is going to stretch into tomorrow as well. You can see high impacts expected across the high plains into the Front Range there, so you want to check and make sure that your flight is still a go before you head to the airport. Now, on the warm side of this system, Carl, we've seen multiple tornado warnings already. Yeah, that's right. We are watching some very dangerous storms right now in northwest Texas, and one of those now just south of Amarillo. And this is an ongoing tornado posing a considerable threat. That is Randall County, and that warning going until 4 p.m. And we'll take a look at the latest on that on the velocity data. And you just look at that circulation right there. You see that? There's sort of very bright area of blue and green along with the red. That is a really strong circulation. When we look at these colors, I know a lot of times it's difficult to see what we're looking at, but that is what we're looking for right there, and that is absolutely a tornado right now that is ongoing. Let's take a look at where that's going to be headed. Now, it looks like it's going to be in a largely rural area. Samantha, our producer, telling us that she knows this area pretty well, and this appears to be a largely rural area. So that is good news. There are plenty of people on Canyon, but it appears it's going to be passing to the southeast of Canyon, perhaps eventually coming up towards Lake Tanglewood. So we'll want to keep our eyes on that. But at least for the time being, it appears to be in a more rural area. Got a brand new scan there. Let's take a look at what's on the new scan. Wow, this thing is really wrapped up. I mean, that is a very dangerous tornado. If you were out there looking at this thing, you'd probably be looking at a big, what we call wedge tornado, very large tornado. And I want to get some of the details on this. And so weather spotters have confirmed this. And this is going to be coming towards Palo Duro Canyon. So sometimes there are locations that are mentioned in the warning that don't show up on our maps. But that is an incredibly strong circulation right there. Let's see if there's any evidence of debris showing up as well. And there certainly is evidence of debris. We'll have more on this coming up in a few minutes.
People were afraid I was contagious.
Currently in our area, 66 degrees under cloudy skies. Tonight, cloudy skies, slight chance of a rain shower, low 54, winds north-northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Sunday, cloudy, slight chance of a rain shower, high 73, winds east-northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Sunday night, cloudy, low 53, winds northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Welcome back. We are following severe weather now in northwest Texas and a whole slew of tornado warnings to tell you about right now. Some very dangerous storms ongoing at this hour. This storm has been spotted, a tornado spotted by weather spotters, and a considerable threat right now. Randall County under warning. This is just now going past 27. Look at that circulation showing up on the radar. It looks like it's just now beginning perhaps to be a little bit smaller than it was in the last scan, but still very, very strong. Now, this is in a largely rural area. Out in this area, you've got Palo Canyon State Park, Palo Duro, rather, Canyon State Park. And so this is a relatively rural area. That's the good news. But that is a tornado right there. That is absolutely an ongoing tornado. And in fact, we have seen debris at times. It's not showing up right now, but you go back a couple of scans, you can see very clearly right in there that little circle of blue and green showing us where there's been some debris. So fortunately, that storm in a low population area. Now, here you see Swisher County under warning until 4 p.m. In this case, a very broad, sort of disjointed area of circulation. It does not look very impressive right now. Let's hope that it stays that way. We'll continue to keep our eyes on that. Then off to the south of that, you've got another warning for Castro and Swisher counties until 4:15, and some rotation showing up near Hart right now. So tracking that forward, looks like that's going to be in a relatively rural area as well. Then to the north of that, warning here, this is Doppler radar indicated for Moore County going until 4 p.m. This is completely gusted out, so we've no longer got a tornado threat there, but rather just a damaging wind threat. But I want to show you how this evolved. It was pretty remarkable. It ramped up very quickly. You can see right there at the bottom there, just a tiny little circulation. Very next scan, bam, just a monstrous, really strong circulation. That was almost certainly a tornado right there. And then next scan, we see a much smaller circulation, so it's starting to rope out at that time as the colder air has overtaken it. And then, sure enough, in the very next scan, that was the end of it. That cold air has become dominant. The storm has become what we call outflow dominant. And then another warning here for Sherman County. And looking at the velocity data here, this also appears to be what we call gusting out. Now, I'm going to back out a little bit as we do have one other brand new tornado warning, and that is for Armstrong County. And so there are several here that have been, oh, this is the new one right here. So this is dealing with the storm that we just talked about, Armstrong and Randall County, Lake Tanglewood in this warning area here. So let's go ahead and track that forward. And, you know, it looks to me, and again, this is definitely a tornado, looks to me like this is going to pass to the east of Lake Tanglewood. But it's going to be close, no question about that. But as it stands right now, no towns showing up in our radar tracker. We'll continue to keep a really close eye on this. Felicia, over to you.
Thanks so much, Carl. And of course, the severe threat doesn't stop today. It's going to go into tomorrow as well. So we want to break that down for you. The severe threat for Sunday for places like Little Rock and Memphis. You guys are going to be in the bullseye for feisty storms. We have a torcon of 3 in parts of eastern Arkansas, western Mississippi, and the southwestern corner of Tennessee. That includes Memphis. So let's tell you about what you can expect here. The shaded areas that you see outlined are under that risk for an isolated tornado. A torcon of 2 in Memphis. Little Rock, you have this torcon of 3 as we move through the day on your Sunday. So you want to have a plan ahead of time. If you can't stay in your home, maybe if you live in a mobile home, you want to know somewhere where you can go in case you do see the possibility of a tornado watch coming. And then also you want to have some way to get those alerts. So let's break it down for you. A few showers around here or there moving in from the west to the east. Now the future radar certainly not looking nearly as impressive about tomorrow as it does about today, but the dynamics are still going to be there to get some strong to severe storms. So it's not just the isolated tornado risk, but the risk of damaging wind gusts as well. With those severe storms, wind gusts could be up around 60 miles an hour, and that could certainly do some damage. We've got a bit of a messy pattern ahead through the middle part of the week. You can see this rain shield stretching from the plains into the southeast, and some severe storms are possible. We're already seeing that possibility on Wednesday, stretching from Paducah. Jackson, you're included in that, as well as Birmingham, New Orleans, and that is for Wednesday. That's something we're going to have to keep an eye on. Mike.
And welcome back to Golden, Colorado, where the snow has lightened up. Temperatures today have been right above freezing, now right at freezing. And as the snow intensity picks back up again through the late afternoon and overnight into Sunday, along with temperatures staying at or below freezing, there will be major issues on the roadways after the sun goes down. Right now, we're fine. Stay with the Weather Channel. More on the storm and more on that tornado threat as tornado warnings are ongoing in parts of Texas.